this late at night. All right. Let's see here. Okay. I know y'all talking ugly about me because I'm all extra late. But I have been locked up in this house all day. I went dancing. So now y'all can shift gears. Feel like a human again. Yeah. Okay. So I have to keep it quiet now that it's midnight. And I understand it's extra quiet where I am. So I'm not going to do... So my name is Sandra Faye Floyd, also known as the Daughter of the Fates, founder of the Temple of Evolutionary Emergence. And if you have read can you hear me, Sage Page? Because I am kind of talking quietly, but I want to make sure that people can also hear me for those that come in later, because I do have to talk quiet and my voice tends to carry. So let's see. Okay. All right, cool. Okay. Awesome. All right. So let's see. Awesome. Thank you, AZ. Boy, y'all be up in here. It's late. I was like, man, it's so late. But even at the bar, even at the club, going dancing, I was still studying, still taking notes. You feel me? People are stopping me like, what are you doing? It's a bar. Why are you writing? You understand? Like, it always captures people's attention to the extent that they have to know. They have to know why I am writing at a bar. Y'all are like jolly on the fucking spot at midnight. So it's midnight here. So I know it's late for everybody else. You know what I mean? I'm here for it, though. I appreciate y'all. Okay. So, for those of you who have not, for whatever reason, read the description below this live. So I know, okay, I do not need any criticism from y'all. You understand? I know that I was supposed to be doing a Zoom yesterday, but I didn't. I had good reasons, but I didn't. I intend to still do this Zoom. This video that I am doing now is a preparation for the Zoom. My intention is to facilitate the Zoom this Wednesday night. That's my intention. That's what I'm working toward. But even preparing, if you will, studying for the Zoom, which what we called it was plot and plan, right? In preparation for what is happening in May with the Roman Catholic Church and its recognition of the 1700th anniversary of the Council of Nicaea. Okay. I got into what I would like to see happen. So I've been taking notes for days now about what I would like to see happen, what's realistic. Am I being too ambitious? Y'all know, y'all been with me long enough to know how I be. You feel me? How can we disseminate this word? What is the jack move that we can pull to address what is about to come down the pike on May 20th of 2025 with the Roman Catholic Church's recognition of the 1700-year anniversary of the Council of Nicaea. Okay? And baby, when I tell you this shit right here has been occupying every single square inch of space in my brain, every single solitary second in my life since I started talking to y'all about it. What was that, Wednesday, Tuesday, whatever the hell night it was? So please believe that my MIA-ness has not been because I have not been up in here obsessing about the quality and gravity of the jack move that we need to pull off, come back. You feel me? The implications are so radical, so, to me, exceptional. Like we really have the ability. We are being presented with the opportunity to do something so extraordinary. But one, in the plotting and the planning, what did I call this live? Plotting, planning, and playing or something like that. That we're gonna have to do something so extraordinarily outside the realm of the norm. We have to. We have to, right? And so, what I've been thinking about over these last few days is just like I think the last live I did, I talked extensively about, and not just this last live. I mean, I talked about it this last live, but we've been talking about it ever since we read Pure Lust, which is over almost 2 years ago now. Damn, has it been 2 years? No, it's not been 2 years. Damn, I think it's been 2 years since we read Pure Lust. Child, it's been 2 years since we read Pure Lust. You feel me? And that's when we really started talking a lot, like extensively, because Mary Daly goes off in that book. What did she call it? What did she say? She said, in this period, the role of the fates is to redefine time. That's what she said. The role of the fates is to redefine time. And I have been obsessing over this idea. The author of Pure Lust is Mary Daly. I have been obsessing about this idea. And she makes it very plain because, Mary Daly was not an esotericist. She was not a, quote, AKA spiritual person. This woman was a goddamn revolutionary. You feel me? Like she was a straight up like dad. She was like, if she even said, she's like, I ain't on the whole goddess shit. She was like, but if that is what you need in your mind's eye to counter the God, the Father God that's been living in your fucking brain, I'm not opposed to a woman saying that she is gonna worship the goddess as long as it means you're gonna be out here doing some shit under the image of the goddess. You're gonna be doing some shit. You feel me? So Mary was a gangster. She was flawed like all of us are, but Mary was a gangster. And when she talked about the two things confronting, hey, cut it out. Don't y'all even start. Don't even start, man. Damn. I said, you know what? Hold on. Because now y'all have been quiet all this time. Now all of a sudden y'all want to cut the fuck up. Cut it out. So anyway, which the two things that she talked about, which I stay stuck on. I stay stuck on because in real time, I am trying to reverse. I am trying to undo the impact, the very real physical impact that our walk through COVID had on my brain. Y'all hear me talk about it all the time. What do I say all the time? Oh my God, what is wrong with my brain? Because since I was a child, I have had the memory of an elephant. I can recall details. I can recall colors, smells. I can read a peer-reviewed journal article one time and 10, 15 years later, remember exactly every detail about the execution of this trial or this research study. And all of a sudden, y'all see me in real time. I'm like, oh my God, why can I not recall the very basic la 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 la? So in real time, dietarily and herbs and shit, I am trying to quote reel back the impact that COVID had on, because that was how COVID impacted me. As soon as I had COVID, the first thing that was affected was my memory. The first thing that was affected was my memory. And so years later, we read Pure Lust. And in Pure Lust, the two things that she went the most hard on in that book was about, what did she call it? She said something to the effect of how Amnesia. Hold on. Let me deal with these cats. I said stop. I said stop. I said stop. God damn it. I said stop. I said stop. God damn it. Anyway, so the thing that she talked about, I think it was like in the second chapter. We was right up in the book. And she talked about amnesia, that one of the primary things impacting and prolonging our suffering, as the quote, what she call us, the race of women. The thing that is primarily impacting us is this externally imposed collective amnesia. Collectively, hold on, because we ain't gonna do this all night. Stop. Y'all can laugh if you want to. This shit ain't funny. Collectively, externally imposed collective amnesia on the race of women. You feel me? And what did she say? She said something to the effect of, what did she say? Let's see if I can find it real quick. Mary had a lot to say in Pure Lust. Mary Daly had a lot to say in Pure Lust, child. Let me see if I can just, because she had a lot to say. And this thing about memory, I'm getting to a point, so just walk with me. 171 and 266. 171 and 266. Let's see. Yo. Okay. Yo, let me just tell you what she had to say. She said, the memory of a woman within patriarchy, it is such. I know y'all better cut it out. I know that. God damn it. She said, the memory of a woman within patriarchy is such that she cannot see the first and the second. That is to say, she usually does not see the cause of her suffering. She forgets the identity of her torturer, and often the fact that there was or is a torturer at all who gave her the problem that she now seeks to solve. For example, as Denise Connors has demonstrated, many women cannot remember that physicians have caused the complications, the unnecessary mutilations, and the diseases from which they now seek relief. Women often deeply forget who they were before the destruction inflicted upon them in a rapist society, and they forget the destruction itself. This forgetting, interlaced with partial memory, debilitates, and it is rooted in fear. Okay? Clearly, both the forgetting and the memory of atrocities against women function to debilitate and to castrate the power of women, child. The forgetting makes one powerless to develop a liberating analysis. God damn, a liberating analysis. The merely foreground memory in the context of which a woman forgets the identity of the primary agents of her affliction Remembering only the instruments, such as token torturers, is false because it is partial, because it is out of context, because it is a part taken for the whole. Moreover, it is the kind of partial truth that functions to seal off the deep ancestral memory that liberates, baby. Okay? Listen, she said it is the memory that liberates. Do you understand? You understand? What else she said? What else she got to say about memory? She says, according to Alice Walker, quote, how was the creativity of the Black woman kept alive year after year, century after century, when for most of the years Black people have been in America, it was a punishable crime for a Black person to read or write. And the freedom to paint, to sculpt, to expand the mind with action did not exist. Consider, if you can, to bear to imagine it, what might have been the result if singing too had been forbidden by law. Oh my fucking God. God damn it. Y'all, mother, listen. Let me tell y'all what had happened today. Okay? Let me tell you what the hell had happened today. God damn. Let me tell you what happened today. I don't. Let me tell you what the fuck happened today. When I created this live, which was at around 8 o'clock, when I created this live, I was scrolling through looking for images to use as a thumbnail. Something came up, I don't even remember what, but it triggered a thought in me, and I was like, ooh, this needs to be a topic of a workshop or a lecture or a live that I do. So I made a little bullet note in my book that I've been studying in all week, writing notes in all week. Okay? So I didn't even go deep into it because I was like, ooh, just book notes so I don't forget. This is something that I'm going to talk about sometime in the near future as a temple topic, right? But my intention, which I stated in the description, was going to be to just read to you tonight from the Women's Encyclopedia of Myths and Secrets as a preparation to us getting together on Wednesday to plot, plan, strategize on what the hell we gonna do, right? That was it. I didn't even intend to pull out Mary Daly. I didn't intend to talk about none of the shit I'm talking to you about. But let me just tell you what the mother had to say about today. I literally just wrote this at 8 o'clock tonight. Literally in my notes, it says, doing a YouTube or an article on the criminalizing of pleasure. The criminalizing of pleasure. That's what the topic gonna be. Criminalizing pleasure. Criminalizing pleasure. And what I did was a quick YouTube search about listing all the countries where dancing is currently illegal. Dancing is banned. That's how I started. While I was looking for an image to put on here as a goddamn thumbnail. That's all. I ain't put that many notes up in there. What is the evidence, right, of the historical criminalizing of pleasure? And my thing was, fuck it, I'm gonna start with dancing. What are the current countries today that have banned dancing? That's what I started out with. I get up on here an hour late to talk to y'all about how we're gonna plot, plan, and strategize based on what I'm about to read to y'all tonight. But I was like, you know what? I don't even remember how I got on this subject, y'all. Oh, it was on the memory. But within the context of this discussion about the criminality of externally imposed amnesia, you feel me? She say here, she is talking about what I was going to talk about some other time down the motherfucking road. How was the creativity of Black women kept alive year after year and century after century? When for the better part of the years that we've been here in America, Our fucking creativity. What is creativity? Our motherfucking pleasure. Our goddamn ecstasy was punishable. Was a punishable crime. It was punishable for us to read and write. That's what she said. And the freedom to paint and sculpt and expand our mind with action did not exist. Consider this: for 400 years, our pleasure has been suppressed. Our pleasure has been criminalized. Our pleasure has been denied. You understand? As she say, consider, if you can bear to imagine it, what might have been the result if singing too had been forbidden by law. Listen to the voices of Bessie Smith and Billie Holiday, Nina Simone, Roberta Flack, and Aretha Franklin, among others, and imagine those voices muzzled for life. God damn it. Yo, let me tell you how spirit be moving up in the motherfucker. You feel me? This little section that she just talked about right here is the basis. It in and of itself alone, this one little paragraph that she quotes by Alice Walker is enough of a reason for her to have named this radical motherfucking book Pure Lust. Pure Lust. When we talk, the whole idea of one of the tenets of the Temple of Evolutionary Emergence being that in the Temple of Evolutionary Emergence, bitch, we sin for salvation. Sinning is what saves us from the patriarchal Father God. Sinning is what saves us from the patriarchal God. What did she say sinning was? To be. To be. To be. You understand? It is to live the life that you create and construct for your motherfucking self. That's what it means to sin. That's why every single thing you have ever done that gives you pleasure, that allows you to experience ecstasy, has been what? Criminalized by the Father God institutions and all them little motherfucking malignant offspring. She said, imagine if these wonderful women had been muzzled for life. Then you may begin to comprehend the lives of our crazy, sainted mothers and grandmothers, the agony of the lives of women who might have been poets or novelists or essayists or short story writers over a period of centuries, 4 fucking centuries of pleasure denial. 4 fucking centuries of being automated blow-up dolls for the pleasure of somebody the fuck else. Who died with their real gifts stifled within them. Let me tell you a motherfucking word tonight, child. I didn't even intend. But when I did that last live, and I talked about how so many patients and so many people I've done divination for in the last 2 weeks are saying the same thing over and over and over again. I'm exhausted. I'm exhausted. I do everything right while I'm exhausted. Right here. Right here. This is why you're exhausted. This is why your ass is exhausted, bitch. It's not just because pleasure in your current life has been denied. This shit is reaching a tipping point. You are experiencing the fucking unexpressed burdens of genius stifled, of everybody that came in your bloodline that looked the fuck like you. That's what you're experiencing. I'm not going to tell y'all to cut that mess out again. You are experiencing the fucking stifled despair that could have created something. You understand? Could have set a revolution off. You feel whatever. But when I'm telling y'all, and y'all know, somebody can comment on here if you want to. Every single black woman that I read, listen, if your ass is black and female, and you call me to get a reading, a divination, bitch, I'm gonna give it to you. I tell every single black woman to say the same thing. When black women call me talking about, oh, I want to be a healer. I want to be, no, the fuck you don't. No, you don't. Just like exhaustion, you don't have a different word. So our default is motherfucking being a healer. No, you don't. And I tell y'all all the time, I'm not telling y'all no shit that I haven't fully internalized my motherfucking self. It's such a paradox. Because I love what I do. I do. It's such a paradox. I love Chinese medicine. I do. I love so-called alternative medicine. I do. I love studying it. I love the breakthroughs that come from it. Right? I do. But the more I am in this walk with the mother child, I love it. And I've said this before because my childhood dreams were fucking crushed. They were stifled. Oh, you can't make no real money being no musician. What kind of black child talking about they want to be a metal sculptor? What child? Poetry ain't gonna do nothing for you. You need to get a real job and just keep your hobbies some the fuck over there somewhere. You feel me? And so because my dreams of quote being a rock star, my dreams of being famous through music or being a famous metal sculptor were squashed in the infancy, I was like, okay, well, because my mama used to say, you need to be a nurse. You just need to go to nursing school. I was like, well, I don't want to fucking do that. I knew that. I didn't want to do that. So when I found alternative medicine, and it was so poetic, and it was so like off the beaten path of Western medicine, I'm gonna tell you, especially Chinese medicine, it really satisfied an artistic longing in me. The thing that attracted me to a Chinese medicine, to alternative medicine, was because, and of course, I didn't know this just going into school. These are the breakthroughs that I'm having now at 50 fucking years old. But I recognized very, like maybe 5 years into the practice, that the thing that was the most attractive to me about, quote, systems of alternative medicine was that they satisfied this longing, this artistic longing that I had and had not had an adequate outlet for. That outlet had been stifled. That outlet had been crushed. You feel me? And so here I am practicing a system of medicine that spoke to the fucking poet in me who had been murdered in her teenage years. You feel me? Here I was practicing a system of medicine that literally herbal medicine, the pinyin for herbal medicine or for Chinese medicine literally translates to medicine and herbs. I mean, medicine, the herbs and music is the pinyin meaning for Chinese medicine. Herbs and music. That's what the pinyin for Chinese medicine is. I was like, psh, you feel me? How in your first year of herbal pharmacology in Chinese medicine, you learn the herbs by singing songs. So here I had like just accidentally walked into the system of medicine that satisfied. Listen, God damn. Listen, I told you at 12 years old, I wanted to be a famous metal sculptor. I didn't know why. I was like, I'm going to be a metal sculptor. And then the motherfuckers at the school I went to would not let girls take shop. So I could not learn how to weld. You understand? And so here, by accident, I'm just having an epiphany now, how this system of medicine appealed to, satisfied those dreams that I had as a teenage child, y'all. Every single one. I wanted to be a metal sculptor. Look at me. I am literally shaping and transforming people's bodies with metal needles. Look at that. Look how that happened. You feel me? I love music. And so when I go into medical school, and the first herb class I ever take, the doctor was like, you got to sing all these songs. That's the only way you're going to learn the herbs. You got to sing all these songs. I was like, feel me? The poet. I told you my left brain was having a real problem with Chinese medicine because all of my scientific classes had been Western science, biology, biochem. Even with my herb classes, they were all botany. They were all botany. They were the active chemical constituents and makeups of the plants. They weren't the esoteric spiritual, understanding of the plants. The diagnostic process wasn't, this person has hypertension or high blood pressure. It was, I told you, the whole first year, I was like, what the fuck? What they mean? Liver, chi rising, harassing the heart. I was like, what? But then there was a breakthrough because the poet in me that had been murdered as a child was like, oh, this is familiar. You feel me? I don't know how I got on that. Oh, I got on that because she's talking about 400 years of stifled genius housed in the bodies of black women who done been buried in the motherfucking ground, and your ass is exhausted because your black ass female ancestors, they begging for an outlet, bitch. They begging for an outlet. Them dreams, them hopes, them ambitions, they ain't going nowhere just because your big mama is not alive in the flesh no more. Them hopes, them dreams, them ambitions. This God on earth who knew she was smarter than every motherfucker she was working for, she was laboring for, she was abused by, that she was light years ahead in genius to this motherfucker, being held captive through absolute brute force. She's like, bitch, my hopes, my dreams, my prayers, my ambitions ain't going no fucking where. And while your ass is alive in this motherfucking period here, I'm going to be harassing the fuck out of you until you fulfill the prayers that I spoke that made you be. Until your ass get the fuck up out here and live the dreams I was unable to. My blood in your body is going to harass the fuck out of you. That's why your ass is exhausted, bitch. Alice Walker said some motherfucking 30 years ago, 40 years ago. She was like, look. She said, look. That's the memory I'm talking about. That's the memory I'm talking about. That's the memory she's talking about that has the ability to liberate a bitch. Not just your memory of this life. You housing in your... Even Western science acknowledges that we have 14 generations of untapped potential locked in our fucking DNA. What you think that untapped potential is locked in our DNA? It's the hopes, the dreams, the prayers, the ambitions, the genius. 14 generations back in every direction. Child. That's why your ass is exhausted. I'm just trying to... That's why you saying you exhausted. It ain't exhausted because I keep telling you we got to come up with a new word. But anyway. Knowledge of this horror, rather than stopping the possibility for creativity, must be channeled. Y'all gather together with unrelenting... We got to get up in this book again. We might have to go ahead and do a Pure Lust book club because this motherfucking book, he was gangster as hell. It really, really was. And I keep telling y'all, the whole time we was reading this book, it was like Mary was alive and well up in this bitch. You understand? Hare wasn't even talking about this shit today. Listen to what she say. She say, knowledge of the horror of the stifled gifts of 400 years of black women up in this bitch. Knowledge of this horror, rather than stopping the potential, the possibility for creativity, must be channeled together with unrelenting rage. With rage, bitch, your creativity must be stoked by, must be stimulated by. It must be informed by your righteous, unrelenting rage, bitch. That's what she say. That's what she say. To recall the suffering of our fucking foremothers, to recall the genius stifled, to recall their quiet, swallowed prayers, rage, resentment, frustration, fear. To recall the horror of our foremothers' suffering should not stop the possibility for creativity, but instead it must be challenged us together, and it must be challenged, it must be channeled with unrelenting rage into creation right now, whenever, wherever this is possible. She said Gloria Anizaldua has written of the struggle of women of color to write, quote, the problems seem insurmountable, and they are, but they cease being insurmountable once we make up our mind that whether married or children or working outside jobs, we are going to make time for writing. Forget the room of one's own. Right in the fucking kitchen. Look at yourself. Let's lock yourself in the fucking bathroom, bitch. She said, right on the bus. That's why everybody be stopping me at the motherfucking club whenever I pull out my journal and just start I commence to going, and then I catch a groove from the music, and I gotta go cut up because I know something else gonna come down, and then I go and write again. That's why motherfuckers be coming to me, because that shit speaks to them. They're like, damn, that's amazing. That shit speaks to them. Here she said right here, forget a room of one's own. She said, right in the motherfucking kitchen. Lock yourself up in the bathroom if you need to. Right on the bus, right in the welfare line, on the job, or during meals, between sleeping and waking. I write while I'm sitting on the toilet. No long sketches at the typewriter unless you are wealthy or have a patron. You hear what she said? Unless you have a patron. You may not even own a typewriter, but bitch, your ass can write. Women, particularly those who are multiply oppressed, are always silenced. Ain't that about a bitch? The struggle to break the silence can call forth further possibilities. The chains of silencing are broken by continuing acts of creativity inspired by pure lust. Mm, mm, mm. What women find by naming, through writing, speech, and all forms of art is something like a stream that runs deep within the soul. Its sounds are musical and rhythmic. Significantly, the word stream is etymologically connected with rhythm. Both are rooted in the Greek rhyme, Rhein, which means to flow. Underneath the elementary unrhythm of mediated masterful memories flow rhythms of empowering memory. One meaning of rhythm is an ordered, recurrent alteration of strong and weak elements in the flow of sound and silence in speech. Although women are the muses for ourselves, although women who are muses for ourselves do not measure strong and weak elements by the rules of the masters, there is definite diversity among experiences remembered. And among Naxter's remembering, diversity is essential. Cut it out. Y'all gonna have to cut it out. Damn it. Hold on. God damn. I got on this for a reason, and I'm gonna let the mother have her way. Because I was on something totally different. I might get to it. But today, we having a moment. It's motherfucking 1:30. It's the witching hour, bitch. So we up in here. It's the witching hour. So we up in here. The rhythms of naming deep memory are quite unlike the tidy, tedious tick-tock of The rhythms of naming deep memory are quite unlike the tidy, tedious tick-tock of patriarchal clocks and watches. The rhythms of remembering are tidal. They are in harmony with the elements within and around us, and they are expressed in elemental sounds. The complexity of these rhythms can be intuited when we think of tides. Listen, I'm going to keep going. Because let's see what else you got to say about memory, because there's a reason that this came to the way that it did. 355. What else? 355. Then look. 355. 358. 271. 86. 98. 86. Well, this book really was genius. There was some she said in here about yeah. Let's see, 90, well, 86. I think it was 98. Yeah, I'm on one. Archimage, 94. Hmm. Hmm. Y'all, listen to what this girl had to say, child. Okay. Damn. The appropriate counter strategy to the breakdown of the archimage is certainly not the reinstatement of Christian Mary, but radical reconnection with the archimage itself. This requires reconnection of women with our own words. Women have been severed from our own words, from our powers of spiration, hours of spiration and creation. The interruption and distorted simulation of our words is verbicide. That is deliberate distortion and destruction of the sense of a word. As a consequence of verbicide, words have become mere noises echoing each other in the Father's flatland foreground, which is the place of Babel spheres. The Babel is verbigeration, which is continuous repetition of stereotyped phrases. One result of verbicide, this splitting of speaking from you, this splitting of speaking from one's self elemental core is a sense of shakiness in women who have heard the call of the wild, the word of the weirdo within, but feel overwhelmed by the omnipresent disharmonious vibrations of verbiage. Unable to recall the source within, women become amnesic. Unable to recall the source within, women become amnesic. Unable to make verbal connections, women become aphasic. Unable to speak. That's what aphasic means. Unable to speak. Sometimes able to speak, but not trusting words enough to act on them. Women become apraxic. The closer a woman is to the hearing, speaking of the archimage within, the more acutely she senses the shakiness of the sublimed identities foisted upon her. Shaky means marked by insecurity or instability, likely to fall or be overthrown, likely to fall or be overthrown. Precarious. It means lacking in firmness of beliefs. God damn. Lacking in firmness of belief, principles, or allegiance, unsettled. It means somewhat unsound in health. When in touch with the source of stability within, women recognize that symptoms of shakiness are caused by the archetypal assaults. The listen. The remedy is unrelenting understanding that stamina is stronger than the verbiage of the reverberators, and that breathing, speaking forth elemental words and actions is itself the creation and communication of stamina, which is the living thread of conversation spun by fates. Since fate is derived from fairy, meaning to speak. Come on. Come on, mother. God damn it. Come on in the room. Come on in the room right now. Come on in. Come on in the motherfucking room. Damn. Come on in the room. Since fate is derived from fairy, meaning to speak. Goddamn. Oh my God. Meaning to speak. The very name fates says speakers. Naming our way beyond verbicide, which is deeply connected to gynocide, we are creators of our own fates, becoming fates. I just want to tell y'all some motherfucking something. I want to tell y'all something. Because I just told you before I got up on here, before I went dancing, you feel me? I was like, you know what? We need to investigate. Right? The ways that pleasure has been criminalized. And then I have this moment. I'm like, oh my God, this wasn't even what I was going to talk about. But let me just see what Mary got to say. And then we go up in here talking about memory, and she got everything to say about what I just told y'all 2.5 hours ago. I was making a little mental note of something to do later. Let me just tell you what the fuck happened in studying the topic that I was actually going to talk to y'all about tonight, which was fucking the Council of Nicaea and the origin, or the one who called on the Council of Nicaea was Constantine. So I came up on here tonight to talk to y'all about Constantine. That's what I came up on here to do. But in studying about the Council of Nicaea and what we must do, right? And what we must do, you feel me? I said, well, you know what? Let me do some research, some deep dive into Rome, because Rome, right, is who the quote Iron Age is really kind of fashioned after. Rome, right? Because Rome literally means what? We are the children of Mars. That's what Rome means, right? And so Rome was really like the figurehead of the war god aspirations of the Iron Age. So tonight, sitting at the motherfucking bar, reading this book on the god of war according to Ifa, Ogun. You feel me? The master, see what it say there? It say the master of iron. The master of iron, Ogun. I said, well, since I'm studying about Constantine and Rome and the children of Mars and Aries and this and this and this and this, I said, let me look up. Let me just Google. I did all of this tonight. Let me just Google the symbol, the historical mythologies and symbolism about the iron metal itself. These are all the notes that I took on the first page of this book. These are all the little notes that I took about the significance of iron in mythology. You feel me? That happened at the club, at the bar, juking between each breakthrough I had. You feel me? And so here she's saying, so let me just tell you, I wanted to understand the one of the many things I looked up. I was like, okay, well, why is iron seen as like one of those metals that you use in order to like protect you from quote malevolent evil forces? And what is the history of this mythology? You feel me? Because you know they say that witches witches are harmed by iron. Remember that? Right? And all of this shit. Baby, let me tell you why I'm having a motherfucking moment right now. Because this website that I went on that was talking about the origin of iron mythologies, quotes, and iron, I'm gonna just read what it iron has been historically seen as protective against malevolent supernatural entities, especially fairies and fae. what we just the fuck read here in this motherfucking book that I didn't even intend to open the fuck up this evening because I was just talking to y'all on some overview shit about my memory. You feel me? And we open up motherfucking Pure Lust tonight. And she say, She say that the remedy to unrelenting understanding that stamina is stronger than the verbiage of the reverberators, and that breathing, quote, speaking forth elemental words and actions is itself the creation and communication of stamina, which is the living thread of conversation spun by fates, since fate is derived from fere, in Latin, meaning to speak. The very fates says speakers, naming our way beyond verbicide, which is deeply connected to gynocide. We are creators of our own fates, becoming fates. And the first thing I read on this motherfucking website was that the historical background is that it was believed to protect from malevolent supernatural entities, especially fairies and fae. You feel me? But it gets deeper because there was one story talking about the original origin of this idea that you could use iron to protect you from the fairies and, quote, fae folk. Originates in the goddess worshiping societies called Britain, Briton. When they was like tribal goddess worshiping, they were the ones that if you see them on the movies, you feel me, they always, when they would go into war, they would put blue paint on them. You feel me? That's them. And the reason that, according to this article, the origin of this using iron against against fays is because these people were seen to be magical. These warriors, these Britain warriors, would paint themselves with this blue stuff. You feel me? And then when they would be, because they use guerrilla warfare, they would be hiding and ducking and diving in the trees, and the opposing soldiers, Rome, would say that it looked like they were disappearing into portals because they blended with the sky. They would duck and dive up and out of the trees, get their little licks in. You feel me? And then the enemies would be like, these motherfuckers is magic. It looked like they just disappearing in portals in the trees and shit. And this was also the period where kind of like this. So these people, the Britons, they were also said to be much more efficient in battle because they primarily used bronze to cast their weapons. They used bronze. These were the remaining remnants of the transition from the Bronze Age to the Iron Age. You feel me? And so the Britons were using bronze, which was said to imbibe them with magical powers. And so everybody that would fight them was like, these motherfuckers is magical. We can't beat them. These motherfuckers magical. They ducking in and out of trees and portals and shit, right? The whole story about, quote, knocking on wood comes from the same place. The same place. These mystical, magical motherfuckers who were still using Bronze Age weapons to destroy their enemies who was carrying iron in battle. Okay? And so because they were so magical, their enemies said that they were fairies. Their enemies said they were fairies. The enemies said they was fairies. You feel me? And so over time of beating back, you know, getting their ass beat and beating them back, finally, because that's what Rome did, subdued every motherfucking body eventually. When Rome finally destroyed these, you know, like Celts and all of these, you know, Britons and all of these people, this was their quote, this was emblematic of iron's victory over bronze. This was emblematic of, according to the story, this was emblematic of iron's victory over bronze. And the story of using iron to protect against the malevolent forces of the fairies and the fays comes from these actual historical battles of Rome trying to subdue people who was minding their own motherfucking business. Yeah. That happened tonight, y'all. That happened tonight. What else you got to say before I actually shift gears and what the fuck I came up on here to talk to y'all about? That happened tonight, y'all. Up in here. Yeah. Listen. Oh my God. Here. Listen. What's he saying? Because at the top of this page, I wrote, I must do memory exercises. I wrote this 2 years ago when we read this book. Page 99 at the top of the page. I said, I must do memory exercises, which of course I have not done. Let me make another note because I wrote that for a reason. Top of the page. I said, let's see, let's just say here. Listen, she's saying, both the dilemma and the strategy of the patriarchs then have to do with the maintenance and control of women's elemental memories, our deep memories that connect us with the elements and with our own elemental force. In order to destroy both women and wild nature, the elements, patriarchal males have chosen the strategy of maintaining these as the living dead. In order to maintain life within the disregarded and comatose state, they have used the strategy of maintaining an officially approved and controllable conduit for elemental memory. God. Of course, if a significant cognitive minority of women ever should remember elemental powers and our connections with the elements, the most powerful threat to the patriarchal system and to its nature-killing offshoots, such as the buildup of nuclear weapons, would be unleashed. Therefore, the fathers have recognized, listen to what she said, okay? She said, therefore, the fathers have recognized memory as their worst enemy. Listen, y'all. She said, these motherfuckers know what they doing. They know what they doing. The fathers, the Father God worshipers, therefore, they recognized memory as their greatest enemy. They have worked to destroy its vestiges in every woman. In a fascinating analysis of memory and childhood amnesia, Ernest Sanchel observes that an ambivalent attitude towards memory has accompanied the history of man. Fuck, y'all. Listen to what she said. The researcher Ernest Sanchel observes that an ambivalent attitude towards memory has accompanied the whole history of man. He observes the profound fascination of memory of past experience and the double aspect of this fascination, its irresistible lure into the past with its promise of happiness and pleasure, and its threats to the activity to the kind of activity, planning, and purposeful thought and behavior encouraged by modern Western society. Satchel does not consider the possibility that gynocentric memory, pre-patriarchal memory, is the issue. Okay, listen to the real issue. Nor does he note that the purposeful thoughts and behavior encouraged by Western civilization, which leads directly to nuclear holocaust, is purposeless. Nevertheless, the threat posed by deep memory is at least acknowledged. Okay. Mm-hmm. Now the question arises: just who could awaken these fascinating memories that are so threatening? To the activity and planning of genocidal, biocidal Western civilization. Goddamn, Mary, come on, man. Come on, man. I suggest that these potential catalysts are strong, woman-identified women, and that patriarchy requires that these be tokenized as the Catholic fathers have tokenized the ark image, or they be killed as the Protestant fathers have killed the ark image, or of course both in due time. For those who are still alive, the issue now is to focus upon our memory as it relates to the dilemma and the strategy of the fathers. There is good reason to think that in the Middle Ages and during the period of the Protestant Reformation, the ark image continued to stir up dangerously deep memories in women of primal powers, memories resulting in defiant and deviant action. Without the real existence of such women, the witch craze would be inexplicable. Some strong women were tokenized, at least after their deaths. Others were burnt at the stake, or if they lived in the British Isles, hanged. The psychic and healing powers of these women, these witches, their active understanding of the elements which made them. Sorry about that. Y'all know this IG shit. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. What you say? What she say that at? Their active understanding of the elements which made them potent as scholars, advisors, and healers would have increased the translucency of the arc image. This spiraling of elemental active potency was a menace to the priestly caste, for surely the members of that caste have been on some level aware of their own derivative identity from priestesses and of the derivative identity of their god from the goddess. Depending upon drained female energy, listen to the word, y'all. Like all the out there talking about how exhausted y'all are. Y'all ain't exhausted. Y'all are the perpetual victims of vampirism. Depending upon the drained female energy and upon the ruses that hid and continue to hide this discrepancy, the priests were and are essentially impotent. Child, they wouldn't have a leg to stand on if it wasn't for the women holding up the motherfucking church, holding up these institutions. Disconnected from nature and obviously unable to heal, that is, to regenerate physical and spiritual wholeness, they have been capable only of causing further fragmentation. It was therefore natural, that is, fittingly unnatural, that they created the witch craze in a blaze of archetypal patriarchal, quote, creativity. Their reactive battle and babble against female power has continued to this day. The rancour of impotent priests has been analyzed by Nietzsche. Of course, that philosopher did not name the targets of priestly rancour, which he called the resentment, namely women and nature, the true enemies of the entire. Listen, she say, women and nature itself are the true enemies of all priestly castes. Y'all ain't heard. Women in nature are the true enemies of all priestly castes. For Nietzsche himself, despite his deviance, participated by reason of his sex in the privileges of the priestly caste. Yet his insights were worth pondering. Quote, this is according to Nietzsche. As is well known, the priests are the most evil enemies of all. Listen, this is Nietzsche. The one I was telling y'all just last week that made the proclamation God is dead, that anything born from religious institutions is bound for doom. That's what he said. He said, God is dead. That's what he said. I just told y'all that 4 days ago. Here he is reading this shit today. Unplanned. He made the declaration, God is dead, and every institution propped up on a foundation of Christian fundamentalism. That's what he said. Christian fundamentalism and Abrahamic religions is bound for collapse. That's what he said. That's what he said. That's what he said. He said, as is well known, the priests are the most evil enemies. But why? Because they are the most impotent. This is what Nietzsche said. This is what Nietzsche said. He said they're the most dangerous, they're the most evil because they're the most impotent. It is because of their impetuosity. It is because of their impotence that in them hatred grows to, listen, hatred grows to monstrous and uncanny proportions, to the most spiritual and poisonous kind of hatred. The truly great haters in world history have always been priests. Likewise, the most ingenuous haters, other kinds of spirit, hardly come into consideration when compared with the spirit of priestly vengefulness. Okay. Nietzsche said, the most evil motherfuckers on earth, the most evil enemies of nature and humanity are the priests. That's what he said. That's what he said. He said, motherfucker, God is dead. This in the 1800s, he said this. Nietzsche said God is dead in the 1800s. That's when he said it. He said, in any institution, he named them all. In the thing that I told y'all about when we was talking last week about this Saturn-Neptune conjunction that we walking the fuck up into. The same year. This is when he said this. His Saturn-Neptune conjunction. He made the declaration, which at the time was radical and outlandish. Who gonna talk about God is dead? What kind of motherfuckers do that? He said, look, not only is God dead in the 1800s, he said, not only is God dead, he said, any institution given birth to has as its foundation these religions, Abrahamic religions, and he named them all the institutions given birth to by the most evil enemies. That's what he said. Any institution born from these religious institutions are bound for doom. They will inevitably collapse. That's what he said. And here we are, walking right up in to another Saturn-Neptune conjunction, almost 100 years to the day that he made this proclamation. You feel me? Anyway. Nietzsche, this is Mayor David. Nietzsche is accurate in his description of the priestly hatred and impotence. He simply fails to know not only the identity of the targets of priestly hatred, but also the reason for this selection of targets. For Nietzsche himself, mired in priestly misogynism, could not acknowledge that it is the active potency of elemental women that arouses such monstrous and uncanny proportions of hatred in the ontologically impotent drainers called priests. That is, Nietzsche had merely foreground knowledge of priestly hatred and impotence, yet his words are often thought-provoking. For example, when he writes of the intestinal morbidity and neurasthenia which has afflicted priests at all times, and adds, quote, "But as to that which they themselves devise as a remedy for this morbidity, must one not assert that it has ultimately proved itself 100 times more dangerous in its effects than the sickness it was supposed to be curing? Mankind itself is still ill with the effects of this priestly naivety in medicine." Man, every time we read a chapter or section of this book called Pure Lust, Mary Daly was issuing spankings, kicking bitches in their chest, snatching wigs, gut punching bitches. This book is the truth, y'all. Zion. This book was so great. And it's interesting because I got up this morning and while I was pulling my life together, brushing my teeth, taking a shower, I, dumb scroll first thing in the morning just to check my notifications. And there were several notifications on my YouTube channel. And every single comment that was left this morning was people who were commenting on the book Pure Lust. I was like, oh, okay, let me revisit this because I love it. When y'all leave timestamps, I love that. Don't just tell me how awesome the video is, bitch. Tell me what was awesome about it. Timestamp that shit. You feel me? So anyway, I had several timestamps this morning, but the comments, every comment that I got this morning was from Pure Lust. I was like, dope, because mostly everybody that is brought to my page or comes to my page is still through the great cosmic mother, which is awesome, right? But today I kicked off my whole day listening to the rereading through y'all comments of sections of Pure Lust. I was like, nice. And then here we are at 1 o'clock in the motherfucking morning, allowing Mary to create bridges in so much today. It was so much. So anyway, I've already been on here an hour, but that was a really lovely intervention by the mother. That shit was great. So before I move on, let me just look at some of y'all comments because I ain't even looked at one, I'll be honest. Welcome everybody in the room. For those of you who came in late and need to know what book I was reading from unintentionally, the book is called Pure Lust, Elemental Feminist Philosophy by Mary Daly. Okay? And if you ain't got it, listen to me read it. And if you haven't listened to me read it, get your life right. That book was gangster. Okay? Ooh. Joy Conversation says, since watching you, I have even more questions, but I have found some answers as well. Thanks for sharing. Awesome. Thank you so much for being here. Is it pleasure or is it free will that's criminalized? What's the difference? They say we got free will, but they steadily using shame and guilt and all of these fucking manipulative tactics to win us away from pleasure seeking. Everything that your body, your flesh enjoys becomes a sin. And I'm telling you, this thing about, when I was saying, I was thinking about like the criminalizing of pleasure. It didn't come in a vacuum. It came from 5 days of fucking studying to prepare y'all about what must be done in preparation for the ceremony of this jack move, whatever the fuck it is that we got to pull in May for the 1700th anniversary of the Council of Nicaea. And in this deep dive, they were talking, like I found some information about this juxtaposition between the god Dionysus and these things that came down the pike, right? I was like, damn, there go Dionysus again. Well, let me, pivot a little bit and see how I can make the connection between Dionysus and what it is we're trying to do. And there it was again. Let me just go ahead and tell you some of the things, okay? I'm going to tell you how Dionysus came up, exactly. Dionysus came up because I'm just going to read to you some things. These are from my notes, okay? Okay. I'm gonna tell you how I got on Dionysus. That's part of it. Thank you. Okay, so I'm gonna start with my notes. This is all the stuff that we're going to be discussing if you decide to walk up into this Zoom conference with us on Wednesday night. So after I tell you these things, meditate on these things, think about these things, because I don't want the shit to be belabored. Okay, we have to create a plan, a realizable, actionable, easily executable plan for what it is we're going to do. This is why I did the deep dive in the study that I did, is to make this shit as expedient and direct as possible. Not coming in blind with ideas and you don't know the basis for why this thing that we're attempting to do is important. Okay? That being said, Council of Nicaea. All right. So these were the notes on the Council of Nicaea itself, and the history of the Council of Nicaea. But the other thing that I made as a primary topic of discussion for this event is, again, redefining time. Redefining time. Okay? Now, let me talk to you about redefining time, because that's why I got on Dionysus in the first place and how it all is connected. Okay? Redefining time. Okay? So the first thing I started with is the changes in the calendar. What were the historical origins of the changes of the calendars? How do we come to this place where the calendar that we have right now is the calendar that we have? This was the starting point. Let me just tell you. So there was this dude, you feel me, who is responsible, because the first thing I researched was what was the date of establishment and the purpose of the quote BC and AD assignment. The person who was a monk responsible for the AD was named Dionysius Exiguus. Dionysius Exiguus. I was like, his name was Dionysus, but he was a Christian monk. I put a pin in it. Let's see how he came up with this AD BC. Okay, so there was an emperor before he came into the fray, Dionysius Exiguus. This emperor established the change in the calendar based on, so it was called Diocletian, the Diocletian era. That's not a great significance, so I didn't go that deep on it. But because this monk was so opposed to this emperor, because this emperor was most notorious for like feeding Christians to the lions and the gladiator fights where the Christians would have to go in there and shit, and all these people died. He was the one most responsible for the murder of most Christians, right? This Diocletian dude, you feel me? And so when after he died and the empire changed, this dude Dionysus Exiguus was the one that came up with the plan that he pitched to the current emperor about changing the time from this Diocletian era. He was the first in history to propose that time be split. Time be split based on the birth of Christ. Okay? Based on the birth of Christ. And so he was the one who pitched the idea of AD. The BC didn't come till later. But the AD, which means Anno Domini, or before Christ. Anno Domini, before Christ. Anno Domini, before Christ. No. After, what does it mean? It means, I wrote these wrong. The part of the year, Anno Domini means in the year of our Lord. Anno Domini means in the year of our Lord. Okay? And then I couldn't find the Latin for BC, but it literally translates to before Christ. And so this split that he proposed in time, centered around Christ, AD means like the year AD1. The year AD1 means the year that Jesus was born. AD means the first year. AD1 means the year Jesus was born. The year BC1 represents the year before he was born. 1 year before Christ represents the year before Christ was born. According to this calendar proposed by Dionysius Exiguus, there is no, quote, year zero. It's BC1 or AD1. Okay, that's important. This first year, or this first era, was called the first era. AD1 was called the era of the martyrs. Okay, so the first calendar was the Julian calendar, which was that you don't need to know. Okay, going forward, there was another dude named, is it here? Where is he? Where he at? There was another dude who had the name Dionysus, and he too was a Christian. So I'm like, damn, why do you niggas got the name Dionysus? Was this a title? So guess what I had found? Okay, so there was Dionysus Exiguus, who was a Christian monk who is responsible for the identification AD and BC. Guess what else? The time explanation of CE, AD, and BCE, before the Common Era, even though it was created to appease like Hebrews and for people who were secular, it's still based on this original, quote, splitting of time proposed by Dionysius Exiguus. Okay, moving forward, there was another Dionysius. Oh, and I ain't gonna get into that here, but I thought it was really interesting. It's something to dig deep into if somebody want to help with that research. I was like, why all these niggas had names like the Great or the Magnificent? You know what I'm saying? Like, so I was like, this is another wormhole I can get into, but I'm not going to. But Dionysius Exiguus, his title was the Humble, right? Then there was another one, and I wrote that down. Where's that? The Humble. Let's see some of these things, because somebody gonna do that for me. These were common titles, not just of emperors, right? The Great, the Humble, the Victorious, the Magnificent, the Venerable. I was like, what the fuck? What? This is a mental note we need to make. Anyway, I digress. So the next Dionysus after Dionysius Exiguus the Humble, you feel me, was another dude named alias Dionysus, who was a well-known musician, historian, and he wrote 24 books on music theory, music history, and a whole treatise on the writings of Plato's position on music. I was like, oh my God, this is big, right? This dude also was a student of a man named Beatty in the year 725 AD. The reason he too was a monk, by the way. The reason this dude was important, and I did a whole thing of notes on this, because he wrote a book that this other Dionysus, alias Dionysus, like went in a wormhole on. The name of the book, written by this monk named Beatty in 725 AD, was called The Reckoning of Time. The Reckoning of Time. I think they said it was 98 chapters in the fucking book called The Reckoning of Time. The Reckoning. Are y'all following? I hope y'all following, because this is deep. This is deep. This is deep. They wrote a book with 90 fucking 3 chapters called The Reckoning of Time. And in this book, he used all the known calendars in the empire in the Roman Empire at the time. He used calendars from the Hebrews, from Egypt, from Rome, from Greece, and English. He used all of these calendars to calculate the date of Easter, describing the method by Dionysius Exiguus. Okay? Why was this important? Because at the Council of Nicaea, I'm going to go into it, but at the Council of Nicaea, they say one of the things that was the most difficult for them to agree upon. Who knew? The most difficult thing, they was locked in a motherfucking place in Turkey somewhere, in Nicaea, right? From May 20th to August 25th, all these spiritual leaders and philosophers from the entire Roman Empire at the time, which was everywhere, North Africa, all the Celtic regions, the Berbers, and all of these people from all over the empire that Rome had conquered. He was like, now all your spiritual leaders, all your writers, all your philosophers, bring them up in here, closed door session from May 20th to August 25th. In this closed door session. To chart the future for the next 1700 motherfucking years. That's what they did behind closed doors. That's what they did. The most difficult decision for them to make and agree upon, based on all of these philosophies that they brought to the table, was the date of Easter, establishing the date of Easter in the empire. This was the most difficult conclusion for them to come to. I was like, damn, Easter like that? I thought it was just like a little sidebar. No, it was not. The primary purpose of this monstrous book this dude wrote was to use all the calendars in the known Roman Empire at the time to calculate a date of Easter, describing the method as proposed by Dionysius Exiguus some 400 years prior. Fulfilling and the reason for that was to fulfill the desire to see the Easter season less closely tied to the Jewish Passover calendar, as well as the desire to have Easter observed on a Sunday, the first Sunday after the first full moon after the spring equinox. That is how currently Easter is determined. It is the first Sunday after the first full moon after the spring equinox. Okay? That's what he did in the reckoning of time. Then there was another dude, I didn't write a lot about him, but he too was Dionysus of Halicarnassus. So when I started seeing all these dudes named Dionysus, but they all Christians in the Roman Empire, I was like, the fuck? Because even Dionysus is a Greek name. These are all, quote, Roman philosophers and historians and monks under the, quote, newly formed Christian empire under Constantine. But all these niggas named Dionysus. I was like, why these niggas named Dionysus? So I Googled. Google is a hell of a thing. I Googled. Why so... I Google why so many niggas named Dionysus in ancient Rome. I mean, obviously, I didn't say nigga, but I was like, why so many niggas named Dionysus in ancient Christian Rome? Like, I don't understand. You feel me? Baby, let me tell you why. Because even as most, like all of the evidence of Greek mythology and Greek mythological characters had been eradicated once the Greeks were conquered by the Romans and basically like osmosisized up into the Roman mythology, that there was to... So what this thing said, and I haven't gotten that deep into it, but I'm going to. What Google said is that even though these men were named Dionysus, that it came from a legacy of people who were initiates into the cult of Dionysus, and that once their initiation was complete, their name would be changed to Dionysus. So how about all these motherfuckers I'm reading here whose primary work was to redefine time? Every single one of them, every single one of these Christian Roman imperial philosophers and musicians and poets, every single one of them were initiates in the presumed dead cult of Dionysus. Because by the time the Roman Empire had conquered the Greeks, Dionysus became Bacchus. They didn't call him Dionysus no more. He became Bacchus under the Roman Empire. And then once Constantine made Christianity at the Council of Nicaea the official state religion, banning... Rome had just been pagan a half a second ago. Rome had just been feeding Christians to the lions a half a second ago as pagan Rome. But once Constantine has this epiphany on the battlefield, and he becomes the chief Christians of all the Christians, and Rome damn near overnight goes from pagan practicing Rome to imperial Christian Rome, Bacchus had to be the fuck out of there too. There was no more pagan worship in Rome. So why all these Christian monks in imperial Christian Rome got the names Dionysus when Dionysus had long been dead? And Google said, bitch, it's because their asses they was initiated in the cult of Dionysus. Okay? They were anybody with the name Dionysus was presumed an initiate of the cult of Dionysus. And upon completion of the initiation, he was given the goddamn name Dionysus. But I just told y'all 3 weeks ago, that Dionysus is Jesus. The mythology of Dionysus, the story of Dionysus turning water into wine, you feel me? Walking on water, born of a virgin. Dionysus predates predates Jesus, by the way. You feel me? By 1,500 years, I think. Dionysus predates the birth of Jesus, but his story is exactly the same as Jesus. You feel me? And I told you that even the sacrament that y'all take when y'all go to the church, the body of Christ and the blood of Christ, comes directly from the cult of Dionysus. Right? The sacrament was the eating of the body of Dionysus and the drinking of his ceremonial blood. You feel me? Why is this important in this conversation where we talk about what we must plan, plot, and strategize to do in response to as a strategy for we too to redefine time, like these motherfuckers whose first name was Dionysus Exiguus, alias Dionysus. Who the other Dionysian motherfucker? Who what his name is? Where he is? Remember me? Where his name is? Where he is? Remember? Man, how was it just that fast? Anyway, it was on the back. Yeah. Dionysus, Helicarnassus, all these Dionysians, fronting is now newly formed Christian monks under the Roman Empire. Why is this important? Because the cult of Dionysus, let me talk to you about the cult of Dionysus and being able to weave webs in real time. Dionysus, right? Dionysus, the name Dionysus, his actual name means he who unties. He was called, listen, y'all, because how did I start this out? I started talking about ecstasy, started talking about pleasure. You feel me? I started saying, damn, what's the history of criminalizing pleasure? You know what the first thing that came to my mind was? The very first thing that came to my mind in the criminalization of pleasure was that damn 1980s movie Footloose, and how all the kids wanted to have a prom, but dancing was banned in their town. No dancing in their town. It's like, damn, this boy comes to the town. He's like, y'all can't dance at your prom? What the hell y'all gonna do? Y'all remember Footloose? Footloose, and it's how all the kids band together to undo the band so that they could dance at their prom. You feel me? That was the first thing that came to my mind when I started thinking about the criminalizing of pleasure. But then I recalled the notes that I had just taken yesterday about Dionysus. Dionysus means he who unties. He was called, see, we always hear him called the god of wine and vine, which is a horribly oversimplification of who he was and why he is significant in this context we're in right now. God, he was the god of relaxation and freedom from worry. Did you hear what I just said? Dionysus, who your Jesus is fashioned after. Dionysus, who your Jesus is fashioned after, was the god of relaxation and freedom from worry. He was called the deliverer of man from care and sorrow. As the liberator, Dionysus frees his followers from fear and care, freedom from fear and care through wine, music, and ecstatic dance. Insanity, ritual madness, religious ecstasy, and theater were the methods he used. His wine, his music, and ecstatic dance frees his followers from self-conscious fear and care, and also is used to subvert oppressive restraints of the powerful. Listen to me. They say Dionysus also uses dance and wine, ritualistic madness and insanity, and religious ecstasy in theater to subvert the oppressive restraints of the powerful. That's why all the poets, that's why all the bards, that's why all the actors in the theaters, that's why the quote griot, that's why the dancers, that's why they was all initiates of the cult of Dionysus. Even Orpheus was said to be consorts of both Apollo and Dionysus. And so even the quote Orphic cults, right? The Orphic cults, or the cult of Orpheus, they call it the Orphic cult. Child, he was what you call it? Orpheus was a devotee of Dionysus. He was a devotee of Dionysus, baby. And So listen to what I'm saying, because when you read the great tragedies, when you read the great plays and theaters, when I talk to you about the bard, how the bard was not just, quote, singing and dancing just for singing and dancing. Say, what did I tell y'all about the bard? That the bard was typically hired by nobility to be the record keeper, to be, what was he recording? He wasn't recording everything. To be the record keeper of their entire family history. That's what the bard did. But he didn't say the history. He sang the history, the bard. So-and-so begot so-and-so, do-do-do-do-do-do. He was the keeper of the ancestral stories of the nobility, the bard. What did the bard say in the Wheel of Time, the bard that they met in the little town? He said, there is none more dangerous than he who remembers history. What did Mary Daly just say? What did Mary Daly just say? In the context of the amnesia imposed on women, that what it has done is suppressed the fucking creative genius that could liberate. It is the creative genius that can liberate. Here, the bard in the Wheel of Time says, yeah, all y'all see is a jokester. All y'all see is a motherfucker who get up here and sing and dance and make you laugh and smile and shit. You feel me? And The Witcher too, the bard, right? He's always cracking jokes. They always like, oh, funny little guy, because he's not a warrior, right? But what was he doing in The Witcher? What was he doing in all these seasons of The Witcher? Yes, he was sexually active, just like Pan. Because why? The bard was a personification of Dionysus' consort, Pan, the horny little devil, half goat, half man, always there to use his little flute to turn up the fucking party. Y'all ain't walking with me. Y'all ain't walking with me. You feel me? And so the bard in The Witcher, all he did was walk around with a pen and a paper and his fucking lute. And he said, everybody in the kingdom is going to know who you are, Witcher. Geralt. Isn't that what he said? Didn't nobody know who the fuck Geralt was before the bard took him on as a personal mission? Everybody is going to know who you are no matter where we go. I'm going to make sure of that. As the chief historian, the bard. As the keeper of divine secrets, the bard. Using the gifts and the skills bestowed upon me by Dionysus himself, the bard. They weren't just singing and dances and having plays just for the shits and giggles of it, like we do today, for the escapism of it, like we do today. No, everybody who was an initiate, and these were all musicians, all poets, all actors, all sex workers. These secrets they kept, these skills that they were imbibed with by the deity himself, were both to be able to what? Channel the secrets of the goddess through what? What three rites? Orgiastic sexual ritual, the use of psychedelics, i.e., the wine and the mushroom, which was known as the body of Christ. You understand? And music to stimulate the Kundalini. Those were the three sacraments of Dionysian worship and ceremony, was sexual ecstasy and pleasure, was the turn up, aka through the skills of the turn up man, you feel me? And then through the use of psychedelics and alcohol. But yes, he was concerned with sexual pleasure. He said, I want you to be free from care and from fear. Why are you self-conscious? Girl, take the motherfucking clothes off and get your turn up on. That's what he said. He said it right here. He said he frees his followers from let's see, where he say that? He said he uses music, wine, and ecstatic dance to free his followers from self-conscious fear and care. Why you embarrassed, girl? Because your belly big. But you better take your clothes off and get it in. He said, you need some more wine. That's all, girl. That's all, girl. You just need some more wine. What you self-conscious for? Bitch, you God. That's what he said. That's what he said. So I want you to be ecstatic in your flesh. I want you to be excited in your flesh. I want you to experience God in your flesh. That's what he said. It is three sacraments that allow for the goddess to comfortably post the fuck up inside of you. All three sacraments were required. And it struck me when I was doing this because the last time I participated in ayahuasca was on the 8/8 portal, August 8th, this past year. No, it was the year before. And in preparation for it. So August 8th, just in case y'all do not know, August 8th is International Female Orgasm Day. August 8th is International Female Orgasm Day. And so this group that I had been going with to do ayahuasca on August 8th, because the dude's birthday is on August 8th. I was like, look, I know y'all be extra hardcore about your little dieta and your little preparation for ayahuasca. I said, but this is a huge day. This 8/8 portal on a number 8 year. You feel me? I said, everybody participating in this ceremony, especially if they got uteruses, you men need to be fully engaged during ceremony on at least on the 8th. In making sure your partner is multi-orgasmic on this radically impactful day, and not one person heeded the call. So strict, so fucking undialectic, so unwielding that you would miss up an opportunity to actually tap into heaven itself. Because it's against the rules to have sex when you're on dieta. It's against the rules to have sex when you're in ayahuasca. Honey, Dionysus said, it's the best time to have sex is when you are on psychedelics, attempting to commune with the one. When you do this, when you are fully embodied, when you are fully engaged in all three sacred sacraments, then you become God incarnate. And in this incarnation that removes fear and self-consciousness, bitch, then you become a vessel that can subvert the oppressive restraints of the powerful. You become a weapon for the God. You become a weapon for the mother through pleasure and ecstasy, baby. That's what he said. You feel me? He carried a scepter, Dionysus. He was always pictured with a serpent wrapped around his head. And he carried a scepter made from fennel, made from the wood of the fennel, right? And it was wound with ivy, which too was used as a psychedelic. It was wound with ivy, dripping his scepter, dripping with honey, and topped with a pine cone. Okay? Dionysus used his scepter as both a beneficent wand to perform magic and a weapon used to destroy those who oppose his cult and the freedoms that his cult represents. Listen, I can use my wand to give you the blessings, or if you get in the way of my children's pleasure, bitch, I will destroy you. That's what he said. Used to destroy those who oppose the freedoms that his cult represents. That's what he said. Okay? Okay? And in the changing of the image of Dionysus, as represented in these Dionysian monks that I just talked to you about, listen, Dionysus represents pleasure, freedom, ecstasy. Not only that, the divinity, the divine nature of insanity, of ritual madness, of religious ecstasy and theater. That's what he represents. Ultimate freedom, absolute liberation in the flesh, in the spirit, absolute liberation. So here you got This Jesus, they call him the savior of mankind, the great liberator, he who frees his followers. And this liberator of savior of mankind, whose image and archetype was stolen by the Romans, who would eventually do away with their interpretation of him, which was Bacchus, who they worshiped for a very long time, exactly how Dionysus was worshipped. But then Constantine had this breakthrough. Constantine had this epiphany on the battlefield that destroyed the image of Dionysus and Bacchus as the liberator, god of the wine and vine, and sexual ecstasy and ritual madness and all of the things, but takes that archetypal image, literally flips it upside down. And so once the one who was once, what do they call him? He who unties, the God of relaxation and freedom from worry, the deliverer of man from care and fear and sorrow. As the liberator, he frees his followers from fear and care through the use of wine, music, and sexual ecstasy and ecstatic dance, insanity and ritual madness, religious ecstasy and theater. He don't want them careful for nothing. Now, Dionysus, body of Christ, he who lights the world, and all of these archetypes stolen from Dionysus becomes the archetype of quote Jesus Christ, right? The Christ, because that's what Dionysus was called, the Christ. You feel me? But instead of pleasure and epiphany and ecstatic dance and ritual and sexual ecstasy and ritual, the divinity of ritual madness, to literally go insane to ensure that God, the goddess, comes through you. You feel me? Now, the Christ requires your suffering. Dionysus wants to free you from suffering. Jesus Christ wants to ensure suffering, ensure sorrow, ensure the condemnation of madness, the reduction of madness. What else? The requirement of suffering and sadness through Jesus Christ. To prove your love to Jesus Christ is to take up one's cross and suffer like the Lord did. Is to become a martyr in suffering. Is to give one's life to Christ. Is to abstain. It is to take vows of celibacy. It is to take vows of poverty. Not only that, what the Bible say? Anything that incites lust is already a sin. Because even if you didn't do the thing because you thought of the thing, it is just as if you did the thing. Isn't that right? To lust in one's heart is to commit the crime. Isn't that what they say? Isn't that what they say? Anything, you understand, that drives you to lust is just as bad as the sin of doing it. Everything is about your suffering. How this God of war takes pleasure in your cries, consumes your tears like holy sacrament, is fed from your fear and your screams, your heartbreak and suffering. You feel me? Hit the madness of Jesus Christ, the madness brought about by Jesus Christ is not ritual, religious, ecstatic, sexual, gratified, letting go of self-consciousness madness. No, it is the madness created and instigated, given birth to by long-term, unending suffering. It's not a joyful madness. It's a madness that creates isolation. It's not madness that allows for spiritual union with the one. Now it becomes the primary cause of all isolation. the suffering demanded of everyone by Christ, by Jesus Christ. You feel me? And so this is important because to me, it helps to inform one of the things that we have to incorporate into whatever it is we're trying to create together for to undo time, to redefine time, to redefine time. You understand? When I talk to you about the Julian calendar and the Gregorian calendar and all of that shit and when it started, I'm doing these deep dives into the years and the numbers and what is the origin of daylight savings time and what are the actual negative mental and physical impact of goddamn because daylight savings time started in 1933. What is the long-term documented, researched negative impacts of fucking with time by men, by patriarchy? All of these articles, the World Health Organization, but studies done by the CDC about the long-term impact, negative impact of daylight savings time. You see how this shit just goes on and on and on and on forever, right? And so if we're going to redefine time, we have to know what that looks like. We have to know, I ain't even got into the language yet. So to me, those are the three things that we have to be talking about. We have to be four things. We have to be talking about the actual impact and goings on in the first Council of Nicaea in 325 AD, initiated by Constantine the First. We have to know the ins and outs of that. This shit, I will be giving to y'all all the studies and all the notes that I've taken in this deep dive before we get on the call on Wednesday. We have to know about the Council of Nicaea. Let me just tell you how neurotic this bitch is, who founded the temple. The Council of Nicaea, right? Nicaea doesn't exist anymore. The town now where Nicaea used to be located is called Iznik. It's in Turkey. Maybe I was like, look, what's the motherfucking coordinates for the city? Because I don't know if I'm gonna be able to go to Iznik. I don't know what the security gonna look like around this thing they trying to pull off. I was like, but what's the coordinates? I got the motherfucking coordinates for the city. Iznik. I'm like, is there a way? I still haven't done it yet, but if anybody know how to do that, is there a way to take the coordinates, you feel me, and work out mathematically the coordinates of Iznik? And if you was to drill a hole from the center of Iznik all the way to the other side of the planet, exactly, right? Where would you end up? Now, is this someplace on our side of the planet that we can end up to execute this jack move? Or do we have any contacts in whatever that place is? Or these are the things I need to know. So I wrote the coordinates. If anybody know how to do that, because I know they've calculated that before, like, you know, the center of the Bermuda Triangle, right? Like according to the coordinates, if you were to drill a hole in the center of the Bermuda Triangle and drill a hole all the way to the other side of the planet, interestingly and amazingly, you would end up in the dead center of what they call, I think it's called the Devil's Triangle off the coast of Japan. Isn't that fascinating? I think that shit is fascinating, right? So I've seen things where they do that before. How they calculate that shit is beyond me. You feel me? But if somebody know how to do that, I got the coordinates for you. You feel me? So if you want to dig into that, where would you end up on this side of the hemisphere, on this side of the planet, if you was to dig a hole from the center of Iznik all the way to our side of the planet? Where would we end up? Is that someplace we got some contacts or we know some motherfuckers who can contribute, you feel me, to this jack move we about to pull? One. So the Council of Nicaea, that's the first thing we got to get up into. You feel me? Anything that stands out as significant about the Council of Nicaea. Like the Easter thing, I did not know that it was one of the primary things that they were debating and deliberating about in the Council of Nicaea. But upon thinking about it, it makes sense because Easter is the spring equinox is hugely significant, not only in time as it plays out in the calendar on Earth, but it is a specific spring equinox every, what is it, 2165 years that determines when we move from one age to the next. That is based on the placement of the spring equinox, right? That same spring equinox in the great, it is the spring equinox that helps us to determine when we move from one great year to the next. The great year is, what is it? 26,000 and some change. 26,000 years and some change. It is always based on the spring equinox. And again, how we determine, quote, Easter, right, is after the spring equinox. It's the first Sunday after the first full moon after the equinox, right? So this, I believe, is why we just say Easter, but I think it's more about the relationship to the equinox, because these motherfuckers, in spending all this time trying to, quote, determine when Easter was actually going to be, because they didn't want it to be so close to the Jewish Passover. I feel like it's some sleight of hand, smoke screens type shit. Because in the changing of Easter, they didn't just change, quote, a couple of days difference on the year so that their calendar didn't correspond with the Hebrew calendar. What they did was actually change our relationship to the galactic, to our solar system, and to the galactic spinning of these planets that would help us determine exactly where we are within the great year or within each age based on our relationship to the spring equinox. This is some deep ass shit. They literally, in their audacity, attempted to change not only planetary time, universal galactic goddamn time. These arrogant motherfuckers. We have to undo that shit. That's what I mean when I say redefine time. We have to undo that shit. So we need to know what these motherfuckers was talking about behind these closed doors. You feel me? Yeah. Yeah. So one thing that you can do right now is, in preparation for Wednesday, is to read the Nicene Creed. Just Google Nicene Creed PDF. It's very short, but this was the document that they came out of the Council of Nicaea with. It becomes the cornerstone of the process of, because making Christianity a singular, like, official state religion. That's what the Council of Nicaea did, right? And my live feed on IG is about to go off in 20 seconds. So just hang with me. Once it goes off, I'll bring up a new feed for those who are tuning in via IG. Those of you who are tuning in via YouTube, hang tight while I do this. My belly hurts. Okay, I'm about to go to sleep soon, y'all. Just FYI. Okay. So, that was what I would encourage you to do minimally in preparation for Wednesday, is to read the Nicene Creed, because the Nicene Creed is basically like a very condensed, like, bullet points of what they accomplished in the Council of Nicaea. Okay, so do that, and make, like, don't be, I don't do this. Okay, don't be thinking with your conscious mind. Like, trust these little weird interventions, even if they seem like unrelated little diversions, distractions, or wormholes. Don't ignore that. This shit that I'm walking y'all through, the opening with pure lust that was unintended, the connections between all these different notes, completely unrelated, that came together tonight. This is how she moves. This is how she works on your brain. So trust that shit when she offers these seemingly insignificant or random ask interventions. There's something she wants you to see. This is the process of this is the process of trusting our flesh again. Trusting our flesh again. This is what that process looks like. You understand? And once you trust your flesh, once you trust let me just tell you what happened tonight. Let me just tell you what happened tonight. I'm sitting at the bar and I'm writing like I always do. And these three Africans was like, why are you writing? And I tell them briefly, why I was writing. And they were like, damn, that's fascinating. Because I told them I'm delivering a presentation at 11 tonight. They were like, what? I was like, yeah, I'm delivering a presentation, so I'm studying. And they were like, damn, that's amazing. We intrigued. And I'm like, I'm trying to write, but they won't let me. You feel me? So I give them the rundown, right, about what I do. And I say something to the effect of, I was like, so I run a temple called the Temple of Evolutionary Emergence. And in short, right, our primary tenet is ecstasy is our religion. You understand? That each one of us are heavenly beings gifted with flesh through the miracle called the uterus, and being incarnated through the miracle called the uterus. Ecstasy is our fucking birthright. Ecstasy is our religion. You understand? We sin for salvation. This is what I'm giving them blind. You feel me? They was like, damn. I said, I know, it'd be like that. You feel me? And so there was two sisters and a brother. And they were like, oh my God. They was like, damn. You understand? They was literally blown. I talked to them not long. I just gave them the rundown so I could commence the studying, right? And so one of the sisters was like, oh my God, like you ain't even talked 5 minutes, but everything you said, I felt it everywhere. Both of the sisters were like, yo, the brother was like, oh my God. Like, where you at? Where the temple? What you doing? I give him my information. Maybe 10 minutes later, another brother comes and sits down. He don't know them and he don't know me. So he's just like trying to get a drink. But he sits down and he starts talking to the three. I'm like deeply in study at this point, but I'm still listening. He a Nigerian brother. I said, okay, Tunde, let's go, right? And he proceeds to tell this group that he, I don't know how it came up, but he participated in Ramadan. He just finished Ramadan. And he was like, yo, I'm up here. I'm trying to eat. You feel me? I can't get no food at the bar. I'm trying to drink. I just finished Ramadan. One of the sisters, he just had this conversation where she said what I was telling her about ecstasy in the flesh. And this, we sin for salvation. She's like, oh my God, yes. This makes so much sense. Child, 20 minutes later, this brother talking about how he just finished Ramadan. And she says, oh, I participate in Ramadan too, but this year, for some reason, I got sick and I couldn't complete it. And I looked over. I said, you Muslim? She said, no. I'm not Muslim. I said, why are you participating in Ramadan then? She was like, well, because my best friend is Muslim, and so I wanted to support her, so I did it too, and then I just got sick. I said, that's fascinating. I said, that is really fascinating. She said, well, I just wanted to be supportive. But the way she was talking to the brother about it, I said, because that wasn't the only thing. Pleasure in the flesh was not the only thing that I talked about. As a matter of fact, I talked about the exact opposite. I said, that's why each one of your Abrahamic religions requires your suffering, requires your ascetic devotion, these gruesome displays of your devotion, whipping yourself and spanking yourself and starving yourself and denying yourself sex and denying yourself any money and vows of poverty and all this bullshit. So I say, our religion is ecstasy. You understand what I'm saying? That we welcome the desire. We welcome the desires of the flesh. Yes, we do. We honor the desires of the flesh. Yes, we do. We sin for salvation. Yes, we do. You understand what I'm saying? And so she was like, yes. I said, I just talked to y'all about asceticism being a necessary requirement of patriarchal religions to punish the vestige of flesh in males. They hate females, so they have to hate the female quality of self, which is their flesh. Because in patriarchal religions, your spirit is more important. Your flesh is lowly. Your flesh is nothing. Your flesh is filthy as a rag. The Bible say. Your flesh leads your spirit astray. Because it's so lowly and ignorant, your flesh. And there was like a kind of boasting like pleasure this young sister took when talking to this Nigerian brother about her too participating in Ramadan. Not 20 minutes after we had this discussion that she said she felt everywhere in her body. We have to trust our flesh. It is our flesh that informs spirit, boo, not the other way around. It is our flesh that informs spirit. As a matter of fact, remember about a week ago, maybe 2 weeks ago, I was talking about how I got on this wormhole, neurotic, weirdo, scientific. I was like, E equals MC squared. What that shit really mean? Remember I got on that? What that shit really mean? What about the laws of thermodynamics? What does that mean spiritually? How does that translate? Remember I was telling y'all that? The laws of motion. How that shit translate to spiritual language? That's what I wanted to know. You feel me? And you remember I was telling you about there was a point I wanted to make, goddammit. Remember, I was talking about E equals MC squared. Energy equals mass times whatever the fuck, squared. But essentially, it means motion. I forget the word they use, but E equals MC squared is about energy and mass. And what did they say? E equals MC squared is, why is it equal? It says because mass and energy, or matter and energy, are two different states of the same thing. Energy and mass are the same. Two different versions of the same thing. And so I was like, what? Oh my God, that's so deep, right? So I go in and I say, what? They say this particular formula was specifically used to calculate, right, how much energy is produced from mass. What did they say? They said that mass, listen to me, that mass is the generator of all energy. What have I been telling y'all for 3 motherfucking years? All mass is this. Everything the mother, everything blood, everything of substance is mass. It's mass. You feel me? Everything insubstantial. Fire, gas, the sun, this stuff is real, but it's insubstantial. It's not mass. Do you understand? This symbol is what? Mommy and I are one. This is a singular entity, but it is the mass. What do we say? The mass is the mother. It is mass that gives birth to, mass that generates energy. And in exchange, the energy, what does it say? In Chinese medicine, it says yin generates yang, and in exchange, yang invigorates mass. The mother generates, the son invigorates. Do you understand? Here, in E equals MC squared, they say what? Mass generates all energy. Literally states in the definition, mass is the essence of all energy. What we call spirit, what we call soul, is energy. Mass generates energy, not the other way around. We have been fed this bullshitting ass lie that is a corruption of this. It is a flipping upside down. It's a corruption of this. That spirit was first, that there was a void of absolute nothingness. And then one day, out of nothingness, the entire universe and all of the substance of the universe just magically the fuck appeared. But even in your physics class, even in science, they say that ain't true. That the essence of all energy is the fact that it is given birth to, the fact that it is generated from the fact that it emerges from mass. It emerges from mass. So y'all have been taught to glorify spirit, to glorify all that is insubstantial, to glorify and long for the insubstantial. You ain't got no evidence. You ain't got no evidence of oxygen. Can't see it, touch it, taste it, smell it. You understand? But you know you need it. You know you need it. You understand? Here, we have been told all this time to glorify the insubstantial and punish and reduce and to make insignificant the matter that generates all energy. That old question, which came first, the chicken or the egg? Some motherfucking meal philosopher came up with that bullshit. Because according to all the mythologies, all the matriarchal mythologies, that it was a big, boundless, giant ass black mass. Mass. Who out-pictured as a serpent, as a great primordial serpent, who gave birth to an egg, the cosmic egg. This is why the temple's logo is what it is. It's based on the story. That the great black primordial abyss that is she is mass, bitch. That's why they talking about dark matter. They don't call it dark energy. They call it dark matter. Isn't that what they call it? Why they call it that? Why they call it that? Why they call it that? If it's energy, if energy is so important, and the energy, even in these metaphysical circles, and y'all talking about is fucking energy. It's the energy. It's the spirit, and all of that bullshit. It's patriarchal language. I'm just trying to tell you. I'm trying to give you a whole ass motherfucking word. I'm trying to liberate your ass. You feel me? And so, this black matter, this dark matter, they don't call it dark energy. They call it dark matter. That is the conduit through which the entire universe gave birth to itself. That's what it did. Matter generated energy. And so I'm sitting here trying to make up for the fact that I hated mathematics, I hated science, and I hated goddamn physics in high school. And I'm like, fuck, I should have paid attention to this shit. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, damn, do I need to go back and take some remedial classes to understand this shit? Because I'm just trying to give you the shit in my most remedial understanding of it. Why the law of thermodynamics? Why the laws of fucking motion? Why E equals MC squared is so motherfucking profound? Because they say, that night that I taught y'all this shit, that this formula, which helps these motherfuckers who run the world right now calculate to the absolute minimal how much energy can be generated from mass. And so the example that they use is that for 1 kilogram of mass, didn't make a distinction about the type of mass, y'all. For 1 kilogram of mass, 9 times 10 to the 16 power of joules of energy can be generated from 1 kilogram of mass. This is in their definition. This is the equivalent of 21 megatons of TNT dynamite. I said 21 tons, 21 megatons of TNT from 1 kilogram of mass. I said, one of you women who ain't ashamed to tell me your weight up on here, I said, take your weight, post it in the comment section, and then convert your body weight in pounds to kilograms. Okay, do that right now. And the sister, I think she said she was 180 pounds. And she said, for 180 pounds, my weight in kilograms is 5,822 kilograms. And 1 kilogram of your matter can generate potentially 21 megatons of goddamn TNT worth of energy. And your ass can't figure out why the fuck your ass is tired. Why your ass is, quote, exhausted. It's that same vampirism she was talking about in Pure Lust just a half a second ago. Why your ass is drained. is because that 1 kilogram of energy with the potential to be converted into what they say 9 times 10 to the 16th power joules of energy, they getting that from your ass. To put it another way, a few days later, going into that same wormhole, I was like, okay, joules of energy is what they use to calculate how much they're going to tax your ass for this electricity that come into your house, right? And so I'm like, okay, this is to say she 5,823 milligrams in her weight, right? Damn, if 1 kilogram can generate 9 times 10 to the 16th power worth of joules of energy, and this sister got 5,823 kilograms of mass that can produce energy for somebody the fuck else. You understand? I said, okay. I'm sitting in the park one day. I said, you know what? I was thinking about that because that shit blew my mind. You know what I mean? So I'm sitting in the park one day. I'm like, what is one human life worth in terms of dollars? Like, what is one human life worth in terms of dollars? And lo and behold, I found an interview on NPR, National Public Radio. Found an interview on NPR with what's her name? I forget her name. But she one of the big Amy Goodman on NPR. She's doing this interview, and she's interviewing 3 economists. Okay, and she asked this question. She said, "I know it's a controversial question because we don't want to quote put a dollar amount on the value of life. Honey, that shit is a distraction. They don't want you to know the value of your motherfucking mass, bitch. Because if you know the value of your mass, your ass will be scrapping a bitch to reclaim your motherfucking wealth. That's why they be gaslighting the fuck out of you. You can't put a dollar amount on human life, but they do it right up in that motherfucking stock market. Yes, they do. These 3 economists said, based on the current, what do they call it? Based on the current population rate, population growth, the way they determine this is at the same time the birth rate, which they say for an economy to maintain itself as a healthy economy, each quote family has to have the birth rate has to be 2.2 children. Okay, 2.2 children for a nation to have a healthy birth rate. Those 2.2 children is also in conjunction with the expected life expectancy in juxtaposed to those who are aging out of the workforce. That's how birth rate is determined. Not only the number of babies being born, the number of babies that need to be born in order to make up for the same time the number of people that are aging out of the workforce. And what these 3 economists said was, based on the expected amount of years each person goes into the workforce and is expected to work in the workforce, which is what they say 18 to 65 years, right? So if you work from 18 to 65 years in the workforce, based on that calculation, your contribution, quote, to society having been born, that this ain't just based on the United States economy, by the way. It said that y'all gonna stop that, turkeys, that every human on earth is currently worth $10 million on the planet. Every human on earth is currently worth $10 million. Have you seen $10 million in your life? But somebody getting $10 million off your ass. That's why the minimum wage is $7 an hour. So we determined, right, that for us, that if we was getting our $10 million in our lifetime based on our fucking productivity, you feel me? That everybody on earth should be making $250,000 a year, which is not impossible considering the fact that money, that wealth is being generated, but it is being held captive by motherfuckers called billionaires, 1. Government's chronic exploitation of people's labor, 2. The refusal to pay women who take care of children full time a living wage. 3, the ever increasing, unending increasing value of those who benefited from the primitive accumulation of capital, aka genocide, theft of land, and fucking enslavement. That wealth ain't going nowhere. It just grows exponentially. That's what inheritance shit is. You know, when a bitch inherits, so they inherit primitive accumulation of capital. You feel me? And so I'm thinking about all of this. You feel me? And here we are talking about the Council of Nicaea, that for the first time in history gave an empire a state religion, a religion that now justifies empire, a religion that a spiritual system that now justifies empire, that justifies war, that justifies conquest, that justifies colonization, right? That now justifies punishment, punitive punishment, justifies crimes against female bodies. Because why? Because the state religion is not the Romans. Y'all the ones that taught us about Christianity. And the Christians say that women being the lowliest of us all, that anything happens to their flesh is justified. Because that evil bitch Eve damned us all. And so we are in a constant state of revenge mode when we look at women, when we see female bodies. We want revenge. How dare you damn us to this world we created? The world and all of its horrors created by men, using violence against women, using, quote, Eve's original sin to justify the violence against women in their bodies. This should be. And so that's why the majority of people on the planet who are enslaved are female bodied. That's why the majority of the people of the planet who are enslaved, who are living less, 3/4 of the planet is 8.2 billion people on Earth, and 3/4 of the planet live off less than $10 a day. A day. Mm-hmm. And the great majority of them, I think it's 83% of them, according to the World Health Organization, 83% of the laborers, the brute force laborers on Earth are women, and typically women with children, generating they $10 million a year, but never seeing a dime of it, earning $10 a motherfucking day. Okay? And so the reason I'm saying this is because thinking that I'm not saying there's not going to be an aspect of it, but thinking that we're going to do the same old shit and take some shit, you understand? Thinking we're going to get out here and we're just going to amass ourselves an army, or we're going to amass ourselves, some men who are, quote, revolutionary enough to do the thing. It ain't going to be none of that. It ain't going to be none of that. I'm sitting here literally reading articles about the 66 countries right now. The 66 countries in 2025. The 66 countries around the world that have in one way or another banned dancing. You heard me? That have banned dancing. I forget what country it was. I'm gonna talk to y'all about that because I told you this whole, what do I call it? The criminalizing of pleasure has an origin. That's why I talked to y'all about Dionysus. That's why I talked to you about the cult of pain and suffering known as Christianity and Islam and Judaism and Hinduism and Buddhism. These are all cults of suffering. And in cults of suffering, if the whole cornerstone of what the fuck you teach is the denial of pleasure, the not trusting your flesh, that it will, quote, always lead you astray. The Bible say your heart, bitch, will lead you astray. Ain't that what the Bible say? Will lead you astray. You understand? That you cannot trust your flesh. You cannot trust your eyes. You cannot trust what you hear. You cannot trust the desires of your flesh because that's just the devil trying to lead you astray. You feel me? If you're in a cult that glorifies suffering, then of course war would be equally glorified. Sound familiar? Sound like some seemingly unending conflict in the Middle East right now? Motherfuckers going into their victims' homes, and soldiers going into their victims' homes and eating their food and trying on their lingerie and makeup. The glorifying of warfare. And you don't think that shit has an origin. You feel me? Well, meanwhile, the remnants of the goddess worshiping societies, because Dionysus was a son and recognized as a son, that was part of his worship, was that he was a divine son with a divine mother. You feel me? And the only way to worship his mother was to worship him. And how did you worship him? Through wine and music and ecstatic dance, ritual insanity and madness, religious ecstasy and theater, the turn up. That's how you worship him, the turn up. What were the 3 sacraments in the cult of Dionysus? Psilocybin, or ivy, soaked in the blood of Dionysus, which was wine. He would have his homie, the goat man Pan, come through with his little flute and commence to rocking the party. That's why the Pied Piper be getting a bad rep. Because the Pied Piper, how did he quote steal the babies? Because he stole the babies in what? In acts of revenge against those who exploited him. Exploited his divine gift of music. That's what he did. He used music to do 2 things. He used music to solve the problem of the people. That's what he did. That's the first thing he did. He was like, look, y'all got this problem. Y'all done tried everything. I got you. Just pay me what I ask, and I'll even let y'all pay after the task is done. They was like, look, we'll try anything. You sound crazy talking about you gonna flute play the damn rats out the city. But if you can make it work, nigga, we'll pay. And they watched in amazement as he used his divine gift of breathing. As he used his divine gift of breathing, playing his flute. You understand what I'm saying? And walk them motherfuckers right out the town. Walk them rats right out the motherfucking city. Off a cliff. Deed done. And they was like, that was cool. You understand? But we decided that was too easy, and so we ain't gonna pay you. He said, what? We gotta rewrite the whole story. Goddamn the Pied Piper. We gotta rewrite the whole story of the Pied Piper, y'all. Goddamn. Because this ain't about some quote wicked motherfucker stealing kids. Because that's what y'all say now. Y'all say they use the music to, do this, hijacking of the children or whatever the fuck y'all came to that conclusion about. You feel me? But the Pied Piper was about the historical exploitation of gifted motherfuckers for their talents. That's what it's about. And he just happened to be one of the ones that was like, fuck that. I can use my gifts to heal, but do not get it twisted, bitch. I can use my gifts for revenge too. That's what that story is about. The artist getting his. The artist taking revenge for wrong done to him. That's what that story is about. That's what that story is about. Because in the story, he didn't kill them babies. He said, your people now, they fucked up. Not one adult in the city was like, damn, pay that man that damn money. Like, why y'all playing? Y'all said y'all was gonna pay the man the money, get the motherfucker. This is his gift. That shit is magical. He just did. You saw them rats stop what they was doing and literally just tap dance out the city. Do. Jump to their demise. That's some godlike gifted shit right there. Pay that man his motherfucking money. There wasn't one grown up in the city that did that shit. Not one. It's like, that shit was too easy. We ain't giving you no money, man. That shit crazy. He's like, oh, okay. He didn't even throw a tantrum. He was like, all right. Next day, he came back into town with his little magical flute playing ass. And took that flute, up in his hands. You feel me? Do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do. Turn the fuck up. And all them babies that was playing outside doing their thing stopped in place. Like, oh shit. Y'all hear that? That's that phone. We going where he going. We going where he going. We going where he is. Now, according to the movie, they say that he marched the babies into this cave, and then the cave door closed behind them, and the presumption was that they went on to live in some magical land. Now, that's how the story went. But babe, he walked the innocents in this corrupt ass town out of the town so they too would not be corrupted by their corrupt ass people now. That's what he did. He used the magic of his breath, child. He used his motherfucking conspiracy, his breathing. He used his conspiracy to walk them babies into another future. He's like, y'all can't be up in here with these kind of shiesty, shifty ass motherfuckers who can't even do one thing like keep their word for services rendered. And I am obviously divinely touched. I'm obviously divinely touched as the artist, as the musician, as the solver of problems, as the inspiration for visions and shit, the artist. And y'all gonna play me. Y'all just saw me work magic in this, and I'm the one y'all gonna play. Y'all got it. Just like I say here. What did it say about Dionysus? He said he used his magical scepter to do what? To do two things, right? He used the magical scepter to bless, as a benefic one, to bless his followers. What did he bless his followers with? A freedom from fear, freedom from self-consciousness, freedom from the cares of the world that would worry one, freedom from sadness and sorrow. That's what it say. He used his scepter beneficently to free his followers. But he said, do not get it twisted. Yes, I love the turn up. Yes, I love the party. Yes, I love the song and dance. Yes, I love the sexing. But if you try to deny my followers freedom, if you try to restrain their power, if you try me or mine, that's what he said. If you try me or mine, this pretty little scepter with the honey and the ivy and all this shit, and it's cute and shit, and you see me prancing and dancing to the trees, naked and shit, and you think I'm a pussy, you think I'm weak. That's what you think. Don't get it twisted. Try me. Try me. My revenge is equally powerful. That's what he said. My revenge is equally powerful. All I'm trying to do is make life easier for you, like the Pied Piper. All I'm trying to do is fulfill your wishes and solve your problems. That's all I'm doing. That's all any artist ever does, is try to make the world better by their presence. That's all they do. But you're going to try me. You ain't going to pay me what I'm worth. You're going to treat me like I'm some lowly motherfucker. You feel me? I got it. I can use my powers in both ways. That's why this whole thing I'm on, that's why Dionysus had to be brought up in the context of what must be done. This story that I just told you about the Pied Piper, this story that I just told you, and I told you a story about the Pied Piper because of Dionysus' consort, who is Pan, the turn-up man, the horny goat man. You feel me? Playing little, giving the vibes. He's the DJ of the age. Oh, the bitches need music. They can't just be out here in the woods. They got to have some music. Pan was the DJ of the day. You feel me? And so here I'm telling you a story about how this god, Dionysus, son of the goddess, who says the same thing Jesus said, but the story's flipped upside down, y'all. Turned inside out. Jesus said in the Bible what? There is but one way to the Father, and that is through me. Right? But Dionysus said, there is but one way to my glorious mother, and that is through pleasure. That's through worshiping me in acts of divine pleasure and ritual madness. That's what he say. Y'all bitches better turn up. My mother cannot sit in your body unless you are wide open and turned the fuck up. So take these sacraments, my blood, which is the wine. You understand? Take my body, which is what? The psilocybin mushroom. Eat and drink of me. You understand? So that she can inhabit you. But you need to turn up, baby. You got to have an orgasm. It's the only way to let her spring forward through your motherfucking forehead. Who is the she that springs forward through your motherfucking forehead? It is the divine serpent, the magical cobra, who is sitting coiled up in the base of your spine, waiting for the opportunity to experience orgasmic ecstasy. That's who she is. That's who she is. What did they call her in Kemet? The serpent. What did they call her? The great enveloper. Mouth of the river Nile. Why is she mouth of the river Nile? Because she comes. Because she ejaculates. Because water pours from her body, both in cries of sexual ecstasy and in the ecstasy of childbirth. Water pours from her body. Water pours from the mouth of the sacred serpent. You understand? And then Jesus hijacks the nigga story. You feel me? And says, there is but one way to the Father, and that is through me. How do you get to heaven as a Christian? How do you get to heaven as a Christian? In the flesh, in real time. What is the only way you can get to heaven as a Christian? It wasn't a trick question. The only way your ass can get to heaven as a Christian is through death. It is a death cult. The only way your ass can go to heaven as a Christian is through death. It requires your death to be with your, quote, mythological father God the fuck up in heaven. But isn't it interesting how Dionysus says you can experience heaven on earth, bitch. You can experience heaven in your flesh if you let go. If you let go. If you get out of your head and fully into your body. You understand? If you welcome ceremonial madness and insanity. That's what he said. If you dance your ass off. That's what he said. If you have sex in public through orgiastic rituals. Not just, quote, orgasm and orgiastic. Group, public, motherfucking sex. What do they call orgies? Y'all turn the fuck up. Everybody have sex. The pan man's going commits the party with the motherfucking flute playing while everybody around getting they swerve on. And every now and again, you going to imbibe with the blood in the body of Christ. Who was Christ? The Savior of the world. Who was the Savior of the world? Motherfucking Dionysus. In honor of his mother. Facilitating ritual connection with the mother through him. I'm trying to give you a word. And I'm telling you this shit about Dionysus is not separate. I'm telling you this shit about Dionysus because there is a goddamn reason that there are 66 countries on the fucking planet right now who have banned dancing. It's tied to everything we're talking about. I'm telling you. What did Mary Daly say about an hour and a half ago? What'd she say? She talked about the stifling, the 400 years of the stifling of creative energy of Black women. That's what she talked about. And in partnership with that, she said liberation can only come from the releasing. What did she say? The unrelenting partnering of this creativity and unrelenting rage. That's what she said. She said your rage has to inform your goddamn creativity, bitch. You out here trying to do some bullshit while the world falling apart. You trying to paint some motherfucking mountains and shit. Some goddamn oranges in a bowl and shit. She's like, bitch, don't nobody need that shit. We need the pent up, stifled, quieted, oppressed, abused rage of your ancestral line through your mitochondrial DNA in its superb memory to inform your creativity. because that creativity is what's going to save the goddamn planet. That creativity is what's going to save the fucking world. That's what's going to do it. Motherfuckers out here. I'm sorry, I got an attitude about so much of this shit that is being passed off as fucking spiritual awareness and spiritual enlightenment. I got an attitude about it. That's why we did that fucking rage ritual. This bullshit, white women going into the motherfucking woods, beating on trees and beating on the ground, calling that shit a rage ritual. Get the whole entire complete fuck up out of here with that shit. Them trees and the earth ain't did shit to you, bitch. You better be like our great ancestress. What's her name? I don't remember her name, but her product was Aqua Tofana. You better be channeling the energy of our great ancestress, Aqua Tofana. You feel me? What's the other bitch name? You better be speaking the name of motherfucking Buddhaku, who almost leveled the goddamn Roman Empire. That's what she did. These motherfuckers came and raped her babies and killed her husband, who was compliant. He's like, the Romans ain't that bad. You just got to pay tribute. They'll leave you alone. And they came up in there. They was like, thank you for all this money you've been giving us all this time. Now it's your turn. We done murked everybody around you. We done murked all your motherfucking allies, bitch. Now it's your turn. Slayed his ass in front of his wife and kids. Then raped her 2 daughters in front of her. She went on the run and within months amassed a goddamn army of 100,000 men while she got on a birth. What they call that shit? A toga? What do women wear in ancient Greece? I mean, in the ancient times, they was in what is now Britain. I forget what the name of it. Maybe it was the Bretagne that I was telling y'all about earlier. But she and her little one strap, little toga looking thing led 100,000. This happened during a Pluto return, by the way. I've been talking to y'all about for about 5 years. But she almost bested the Roman Empire, baby. You understand? We better be talking about what's that motherfucking name? Joan of Arc. You better be channeling goddamn Joan of Arc. And what was the reason that they burnt her at the stake? Even though she was winning war after war after war after war after war for the church, in the name of the church, in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Winning. And do you know the 2 things that they said contributed to her getting the death penalty? Was one, because she said this was a crime back then. That's why you needed intercessories. She said God spoke directly to her. She's like, look, I ain't got to go to confession. I ain't got to do all that shit. God speaks to me directly. Teaches me how to plan, plot, and strategize. I hear it clear as day, clear as I'm talking to my men. And then the other thing that they said was the fact that the church was something about the church was made uneasy by a woman dressing like a man. You understand? What they were scared of was the presentation of power housed in a female body. That's why these niggas be telling y'all all, why you acting so manly? Why you acting so mannish? Why you acting like a boy? Why you acting like a man? Same reason they sent Joan of Arc to the motherfucking stakes. That's why they do that. Right now today, every time you hear that bullshit, it is because these motherfuckers are terrified by the face of power presented in the body of a female. This is what they are responding to. Power is what they are responding to. How dare you have power, bitch, and you a woman? How dare? That's why they hate Meg Thee Stallion. That's why they hate Lizzo. That's why they hate all of these sisters. Is because any acquisition of power in the hands of women is a threat to patriarchy itself. It don't matter if she up on stage shaking her ass, popping her coochie. Any acquisition of power, no matter how seemingly small, is problematic for the maintenance of patriarchy. This is what all these men are responding to. So don't you ever in your whole life, from this day to the last, feel guilty about some lowly ass, unconscious, pathetic excuse of a human being telling you that you acting manly, you look like a man, sound like a man, or any of that bullshit that they be using as a last-ditch, desperate, flimsy-ass attempt to disempower you who are empowered. Because I'm telling you, that's what they're responding to. These motherfuckers are in a crisis. And they are totally internalizing the crisis of the state. They are totally internalizing the crisis of this falling church, this falling institution. These regular everyday men, instead of bigging up the power being presented through their wives, their daughters, their aunties, their mamas, instead of bigging that up and saying, I like what they got going, I'm siding with them. Instead of doing that, they will become the lynchmen. They will become the motherfucking agents of a dying patriarchy. So go down with the shit. That's cool. Go down with the shit, because that's what's happening. That's what's happening. You understand? What must be done? Now I'm going to tell you, because you see a lot of this shit. People doing, quote, retreats, ecstatic dance retreats, right? People be doing like that rage shit in the motherfucking woods. You understand? In California right now, they got these things called, I think they call rage houses or something like that, where you can go. There's one blocks down the street from where I live, and you can pay a monthly fee, like a gym membership, to go and break shit, to go and take an axe and chop on some wood so you can get your motherfucking angst on. Everything to avoid facing the object of your fucking misery, of your despair, of every mental illness you got, of every physical illness. There is one object. There is one source of all that ails you. And you will do everything but face that bitch. And what Dionysus teaches us, right? What Mary Daly teaches us. Let me show you the book I'm reading right now, which is blowing my whole mind. Ecstasy is the name of the book, by Robert Johnson. Understanding the Psychology of Joy. The name of the book is Ecstasy. I was like, oh, I need that. And it's right out the gate, blowing my motherfucking mind. You understand? What Dionysus and Mary Daly in Pure Lust is telling us, Robert Tillage has a book called The Courage to Be. The courage to be. That's deep. That's deep. The courage to be. Pure lust. You understand? Ecstasy. You understand? Even Barbara Moore in The Great Cosmic Mother. When in Pure Lust, when Mary Daly is talking about pure lust, having the courage to sin on purpose, that's what she's saying. She said, if your very existence, being born female, if your very existence is a sin, then you better muster up the courage to sin on purpose. What did she say? We are the taboo breakers of the millennium. That's what she said about us. That's what she said about women. We are the taboo breakers of the millennium. That's what she said. And she said, it is only we, the taboo breakers of the millennium, that stand a chance at the dismantling of the phallic state, of the destroying of the Father God. What did she say in fucking Beyond God the Father? Child, what's she saying Beyond God the Father? What she say? That shit blew my mind. What she saying Beyond God the Father? She said, what did she say? Child, when I tell you this shit, had me beside myself. And Beyond God the Father, and towards a philosophy of women's liberation. She said, where is that at? Child. The name of the chapter is called The Bonds of Freedom, Sisterhood as the Anti-Church. That's what she said. That's what she said. She said the sisterhood is the anti-church. That's what she said. The next chapter is called Sisterhood as the Cosmic Covenant. That's what she said. Mm-hmm. In the chapter Bonds of Freedom, Sisterhood as the Anti-Church, on page 132. Let's see what she got to impart on us on this most magical night that the mother has been coming through and showing her whole ass. You know what I mean? Listen to what she say out the gate in the chapter, The Bonds of Freedom, Sisterhood as the Anti-Church. These are quotes. A woman must never be free of subjugation. This is according to the Hindu Code of Manu, Part 5. Quote, I thank thee, O Lord, that thou hast not created me a woman. This is the daily Orthodox Jewish prayer. Creator of the heavens and earth, he has given you wives from among yourselves to multiply you, and cattle, both male and female. Nothing can be compared with him. This is from the Holy Quran of Islam. Wives, submit yourselves unto your husbands, for the husband is the head of the wife, even as Christ is the head of the church. Ephesians 5:23 and 24. Religion legitimates so effectively because it relates the precarious reality constructions of imperial societies with ultimate realities. God damn it. Mm-hmm. 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 Where'd she say that at? Where'd she say that at? Listen to this. She said, since women have been conditioned to distrust each other and rely upon men with power for support, there is a susceptibility to paternalistic affective tyranny that is omnipresent and subtle. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. She talked about we as our worst enemies because of the internalization of the patriarchal narrative. Mm-hmm. What did she say? This last section of this chapter is called Anti-Church and Antichrist. Mm-hmm. Mm-mm-mm. Mm-mm. There was something in here that blew my mind in this chapter. Hold on. What did she say here? She said, let's see, voluntary submission. Da-da-da-da-da. Um, man. Let's go. She said, there is a bond, child. There is a bond then between the significance of women's revolution as antichrist and its import as anti-church. Seen in the positive perspective in which I have presented it as a spiritual uprising that can bring us beyond sexist myths, the Antichrist has a natural correlative in the coming of the anti-church, which is a communal uprising against the social extensions of the male incarnation myth, as this has been objectified in the structures of political power, baby. In order to see the relationship between the second coming of female presence, in order to see the relationship between the second coming of female presence, not only as antichrist, but also as anti-church, it will be helpful to consider some aspects of the relationship between myth and ritual. Listen, baby. When I tell you that in this book, Beyond God the Father and Towards a Philosophy of Women's Liberation, Mary did not come to play. That don't mean we ain't have struggles with Mary, because I had to go off on Mary a few times while we was reading this book. This right here is some gangster shit. She said, make no motherfucking mistake. There is no liberation for women within the constructs of patriarchal religion. There is no freedom we can achieve, we can acquire while holding on to our crack of Christ. It ain't happening. It ain't happening. She said, because you see, she ain't used no goddess language in none of these books. This woman was a political gangster. That's all she was about. And even in the absence of any discussion about the goddess, she was crystal clear that if women are to be free on the planet, what did I just tell you 2 or 3 weeks ago? That the United States government, that these state governments around the world, but particularly the United States government, cannot afford for a single example of national sovereignty anywhere on earth. That's why any government, any state, any group of people that have attempted to wage a revolutionary struggle, aka Cuba, have literally been suffocated to death, to the brink of death. And he's like, we can't have nobody on earth get no ideas about living outside of a relationship with us that we set, that is always exploitative in our relationships with others. We can't afford it. You understand? Recognizing this as a political gangster, Mary Daly. Make no mistake, bitches. That's what she said. Make no mistake, bitches. There is no freedom on earth, anywhere on earth, for anybody born female where the church can remain, where Islam can remain, where Judaism can remain, where any patriarchal religion can remain. That's why she said sisterhood is the Antichrist. That's what she said. Sisterhood as a revolutionary act is the anti-church. She was clear in 1973 when she wrote that shit. So I know so many women who swear they are progressive and still devout Catholics. I was like, how you reconcile that shit? Your sister who sat at the bar said she was tingling everywhere in her body where I said you must honor the flesh, that we quote honor the desires of our flesh, that we welcome and indulge in our lust, that ecstasy is our religion. You understand? See, I felt that everywhere in my body. And not 20 minutes later, she was talking about, I really wanted to continue to do Ramadan, but I got sick. Baby, and that's why I said, how you reconcile that shit? I said, are you a Muslim? She's like, nah, but my friend's a Muslim. I want to support her. I was like, why you got to call it Ramadan? I mean, I don't fast, but if you feel like you need to fast, why you got to call it Ramadan if your ass ain't no Muslim? But was literally talking to the Muslim brother like a badge of honor. I, too, fast for Ramadan. Not 20 minutes after her flesh told her, listen to this bitch, because she's saying some shit different. Why you want your flesh to suffer, boo? Why you want your flesh to suffer? That's what the mother is trying to tell you. Even in here when I'm talking to patients. Patient was telling me the other day, well, I fast every day. I don't eat until noon. And you don't understand why you feel like shit? She told me. The best I ever felt was when I was actually scheduling and making myself eat 3 meals a day. Then why the fuck do you fast right now? Why you do that? I'm telling you, the conditioning to us, our internalized conditioning that teaches us to punish and deny the flesh is what's got us sick. I got to go off the IG and restart it again. I mean, it wasn't a critique of her. It wasn't a criticism. It was trying to help her understand in real time how our ideological accepted conditioning is so deep that even as she can tell me in the same breath that the best she's ever felt was when she was making herself on a schedule eat 3 meals a day. But it just seems natural for me to fast and not eat until noon. That was a quote. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Your flesh wants to be happy. You understand? And so your conditioning is so deep that it will not allow it. You feel guilty when you feel pleasure. You feel guilty when you feel pleasure. You feel shame when you enjoy something that is, quote, forbidden or taboo. You think your ass is mentally ill because you have secret desires that you really desire, but you deny yourself the fulfillment of those desires, and then internalize that there's something inherently wrong with you or something inherently wicked within you. From where do these desires emerge? They're so taboo. You think you a weirdo because in your mind's eye, you have this desire to suck a nigga toes. Or whatever your weirdness is, whatever your kink is, that you too scared to try. And it's because you have been told by these goddamn institutions since the day your ass was born that anything that makes you feel pleasure in the flesh is inherently wicked, is inherently evil. And if you think these things, you might as well commit the sin itself, because to even think them is as the crime of committing them. You still gonna kick the doors of hell wide open because you thought the thought. That's a hell of a job that these institutions have done on your motherfucking brain, bitch. You understand? Honey, I love my flesh. When I tell you I welcome any opportunity for my pleasure, for my flesh to feel pleasure. It's how you know you win this bitch. It's how you know you win this bitch. You feel me? You have to feel to know that you're real, to know that you up in this bitch. That's why when you alone too long, your ass go crazy. You have to feel. You have to be embodied. You have to actively participate in embodiment. Understand? You have to get your booty rubbed every now and again. You feel me? You got to get dick down real good every now and again. You feel me? You have to eat cake and ice cream for breakfast if you want to, because you were forbidden to do that when you was a child. I do that. I do that. I told my daughter the other day, I was like, girl, you just need some more fiber. 90% of what's wrong with us is because we are not moving things out quickly enough because we don't eat enough fiber. I said, do that for about 21 days. Just be deliberate about your fiber and make sure you're drinking enough water and see how you feel. I said, I literally had cake and ice cream. I'll tell you what cake. I had red velvet cake with pecans on it, mint chocolate chip ice cream with some walnuts on it, and some little swirls of chocolate on the top, and a glass of wine every day for my period for 7 days for breakfast. I said, in them 7 days, I still lost 4 pounds because I was eating fiber every day. I was like, come hell or high water, I'm taking my fiber and nothing else. Drinking water, taking my fiber. And in them same 4 days that I was eating red velvet cake and mint chocolate chip ice cream and a glass of wine for breakfast every single day that I was on my period, I lost 4 pounds. You feel me? It took me a long, damn too long of a period of time of my life to not only rid myself of the guilt of eating, to feel guilty after every meal I ate. That's been most of my childhood, most of my adult life. To feel guilt and shame about what gave my body fucking pleasure. That's a hell of a drug, y'all. That's a hell of a drug. To feel guilty about everything I put in my mouth for most of my life. It's a hell of a drug, man. To feel guilty in my foundational years about my physical sexual pleasure. That's a hell of a drug, y'all. It's a hell of a drug. Child, once I discovered my orgasm, it was on and popping. You couldn't tell me shit. That hang up, I got over real quick as soon as I discovered my orgasm. It was on the fucking popping. Child, I was out in the world trying to make up for lost time. I was like, oh, this what sex is about? Oh, I got some making up to do. Because some motherfuckers didn't come through. I didn't even know. My poor little baby self. Didn't even know this was what it was about. Child, and I still ain't made up for my lost time. Feel me? So I hope y'all see all the little laughing faces and hearts and smiley faces and shit. But I hope y'all know this ain't no shit I'll be talking to entertain y'all. I know it's entertaining, but it's not to entertain you. I'm deadly serious. The contest is in our ecstasy. The contest is in the suppressed creative genius of all of our ancestresses coming through us, displayed through us. What did she say? Partnered with our justifiable, unrelenting, uncaged, unbound, radical rage. She said this is the only place liberation can come from. And anybody who wants to be liberated has to be the fuck up on board with that. They got to be on board with that. They got to be on board with that. Anything outside that, you on some bullshit. I still see your patriarchy showing. If you have a problem with supporting female joy, female ecstasy, if you are uncomfortable with someone saying that you have to support Black joy, support Black ecstasy, you on some other shit. You on some other shit. Feel me? Yeah, Marioshi, it's so unfortunate because I love India Ari. But child, patriarchy has been jumping out of her mouth a lot these days. Her little internalized patriarch has been rearing his ugly ass head these days. If you are a woman in any position, right? If you're famous, if you're in a position of power, and you ain't got shit nice to say about women in general and Black women in particular, keep that shit to yourself, man. Keep that shit to yourself. Do not be saying that bullshit and ass bullshit in public. Keep that shit to yourself. We have enough enemies speaking venom on the presence in the name of Black women. Keep that. Keep your motherfucking purity politics to your goddamn self. What they call that shit? Your respectability your politics about what a woman need to do, how a woman need to dress, and oh my God, her booty was shut. Keep that shit to yourself, bitch. If it ain't for you, it ain't for you. Just shut the fuck up. Every time we open our mouth, especially if we are Black women, every time we open our mouth to talk about some other woman, it better be high praise, bitch. That's it. That's all. It better be high praise. That is all. The fuck is wrong with y'all? Like, we ain't got enough people around the globe spending venom on Black women for Black women to be mouthing that bullshit? Don't do that. Don't do that. Stop doing that shit. People I love India Ari, man. What's her name? Felicia Rashad talking that bullshit. Now she got a head full of gray hair, sound like an idiot child who don't know shit. Stop doing that shit. What your mama say? If you ain't got nothing nice to say, don't say shit. If you don't have something, excellent, if you don't have something of high praise, if you don't have something in adoration to say about Black women, please stop fucking talking. Write that shit in your journal if it harasses your demons so much. Write that shit in your journal if the shit on your nerves that much. But stop Black ass women. Stop condemning Black women on these motherfucking outlets here. Fueling the flames of hatred towards us more than you give validation to patriarchs when you do that shit. You give validation to our fucking multiplicity of enemies when you do that dumbass shit. Stop doing that shit. Stop doing that dumbass shit. If it is not to say that every time, this is me, you feel me? Every time I see a sister twerking, every time I see a sister up on a motherfucking pole, popping pussy, every time I see a sister walking her baby, every time I see a sister living fully embodied in herself on the terms that her black ass has set for herself, I'm like, yes, bitch, you better do that. You look amazing today doing that. You better clap them cheeks, girl. If that's what you want to do, you better do that. You know what I'm saying? Is that hard? What's wrong with y'all, man? Don't do that. Don't do that. We have to be. I celebrate your joy, sister. You look amazing happy. You look amazing happy. I love that for you. I'm trying to be like you when I grew up. You feel me? Whatever terms we set for ourselves, that's the terms. Big that up. And yeah, I already go on a goddamn tangent. Who else done did it? What's her name? All the sisters done did it because they so beaten down. They so battered. I know why they do it. I'm just telling them, please stop doing that shit. Stop using your places of influence to condemn us. You feel me? Stop doing that. Because everybody, all these sisters beaten down by this monstrous bitch done did it. What's her name? Jill Scott done did it. I love Jill Scott. She done did it. Who else done did it? Lauryn Hill. I love her so much. She done did it. Who else? On that Jesus shit, on that Jewish shit, on that fucking Abrahamic religious shit y'all be doing. Y'all be saying some dumbass shit. Y'all be saying some dumbass shit. That damn live album that Lauryn Hill did, what was it? Her MTV Unplugged. This was ages ago, 20 years ago maybe. I loved it when I didn't know anything. I was like feeling nostalgic, and I was like, "Oh, I haven't heard that in so long. It was so good." And I listened to that shit. The whole thing is a 2 CD bang she did for her MTV Unplugged, and she playing the little guitar. I was like, "Oh my god, why did I love this shit?" That shit was gruesome from beginning to end. From beginning to end, that shit was gruesome. So I want to make a correction, Java Watson. I want to make a correction. We have to make some distinctions too. Lauryn Hill was not, quote, messing with a married man. No, she wasn't. Lauryn Hill wasn't messing with no married man. The statement should be a married man was fucking exploiting a teenager. That's that statement. Now, who she became after that is some other shit. After she became an adult. But she wasn't messing with no married man. She was being exploited by a married man. She was being emotionally manipulated by a married man. That's the way that statement need to be fashioned. You feel me? That's the way that need to be fashioned. That trial that she had with that married man and his exploitation of her youth and shit, you feel me, may have informed how she came to be and to the positions that she has come to now, talking about women crazy. But those are two separate things. She was a baby. She was a child. She was a child exploited and manipulated by a married man. That part. You feel me? We have to. I'm telling you, I ain't getting on you, Java Watson. I'm just saying we have to really be careful about how this is the mastering of language that we're talking about. We have to be careful about how we communicate shit in the world. We do. It's important now more than ever. We have to do that. You understand? Doesn't mean that my criticism of her is not the same. But I also know that she, like most of these women who say this shit, is because they have been brutalized. That no matter how much power they acquire, that no matter how many awards they get, no matter how many albums they put out, this shit makes men hate them more. It does. The acquisition of power by women makes men hate them more. That's why Cardi B is having the complication with her ex-partner that she is having. It is because her success made him feel away. And the only thing that he can do is what he still knows is a sword that he can use against her. I still knocked you up, bitch. I still made you a baby mama. That's what he said. See, she's so thirsty for this is what he said. This is a quote. She's so thirsty for my dick. This girl, even though we ain't together no more, still come to my house to clean my house. So I'll give her some dick. And this is the way you talking about your wife, the mother of your children, on your social media. It's because he hates her. He ain't quote angry because they ain't together. He always hated her. But his proximity to her allowed him to be a vampire on her essence. And as soon as that access was removed, now the hatred actually comes out. It's not just her. The thing that just happened with this girl, who the girl that played the Little Mermaid, the little black girl that played, what's her name? The Hallie, whatever her name is, the Little Mermaid girl, just got publicly humiliated by a bum ass no name motherfucker because he hates her, but he needed proximity to her power to give himself some validity. You feel me? These motherfuckers seek out powerful women to drain them dry. They hate them. They don't seek them out because they quote obsessed. They don't seek them out because they love them. They don't seek them out because they like, damn, she's amazing. They seek them out because they hate them. And this ain't no new shit. All these young sisters experiencing this shit now, but because we don't have no access to real history, we think it's some new shit that all these women experiencing. Meg Thee Stallion and what's her name? Halle Bailey and what's the other sister I love so much? She was an actor and a musician, child actor. What is her name? Her baby daddy shanked the fuck out of her for going to Keke Palmer. Shanked the fuck out of her for going to a usher party with a little cute little black see-through thing on. Shanked the fuck out of her. What did he do that for? Because he always hated her. What's the other little girl named? The little Olympian. The little black girl Olympian that everybody on earth has been shaming this girl since she was a little girl. Why she's so black? Why her hair so nappy? Y'all black folks did it just as much as the white folks did. You feel me? Y'all all did that. Y'all all did that. Don't her parents know she need a good perm? Why her edges look like that? Here this girl's setting the stage for excellence everywhere the fuck she go, and still cannot catch a break from nobody. Not men, not women, not black, not white. This is the reason she ended up with the no-name nigga she married to. Is because you're like, damn, somebody finally see me. Somebody finally accept me for me. And then he get on the TV and do what the fuck he do. Because he hates her. Power presented in the body of women in general and black women most in particular is the source of all hatred of us. That's why the story is the same over and over and over and over and over. Aretha Franklin talked about it. Tina Turner was the victim of it. What's her name? Sarah Vaughan, giant among fucking ants that she was, suffered the same fate. Josephine Baker, child, kicking the doors off every taboo imposed on black people in 1914. Could not catch a break. Could not catch a break. This ain't no new shit. Eartha Kitt cried in an interview. What's her name? Dave Kasevitz or whatever. She's like, the men that I always desired, none of them desired me. So I had to marry what was available. That's what she said when she married a Jewish man. She's like, the men that I wanted didn't want me. All the niggas. They didn't want me. I was never good enough. So I had to have love. So when love came and accepted me for me, that's what I went with. That's what she said. Giant that she was. So this ain't no new shit these young women are experiencing. Meg Thee Stallion getting shot and every Negro in some position of fucking fame or power. Men we thought was like good guys. What's the basketball player name? I don't even, whatever. Men came out the woodworks to support a no-name nigga who I know ain't damn one of them bought that motherfucker album before he shot Meg Thee Stallion. Didn't know his music, didn't know his name until he shot Meg Thee Stallion. Now all of them, thank you, Shy Boy Shades, LeBron James, coming out and making public declarations of support. While this nigga get on a goddamn stage and do a set where he's got on a white coat and have an effigy of a horse leg on the goddamn table with a butcher's knife. Y'all crazy as hell. If you think it's anything other than what it is, you are deluding yourself. Men out in this world in general, and black men in particular, who are the loudest at professing their hatred of black women and all of these humiliating displays of women that have borne children for them, have sacrificed their bodies to give these men that they love and believe love them children, to have these motherfuckers literally try to shame them into oblivion. And y'all don't think it's hatred. They never loved these women. Not one of them. No one. No one. Even if you look at old pictures and old little things of them together, them motherfuckers hatred. Their hatred can be seen in their eyes. Yes, it can. Yes, it can. It can be seen in their eyes. It can be seen in their eyes early on. And so I'm saying all of this is because it still informs us of what we must do. It informs us of what we must do. Why do these somebody say it's jealousy and hatred? I don't even think it's jealousy and hatred. I think these little motherfuckers are the internalized automatons of patriarchy. They're little internalized agents of patriarchy. And what can patriarchy not abide more than anything else? Black female open outward statements of ecstasy, joy, pleasure, happiness. Patriarchy can't have it. And I'm telling you this, that it's not my opinion that even in the absence of black ass people in ancient fucking Greece and Rome, the attacks were on those cults that were defined by ecstasy, pleasure, joy, dancing in public. They are the living embodiment of the memories conditioned within them to make them hate black, female, joy, ecstasy, happiness, even love. They are offended by it. You understand? So don't be talking ugly about black women. Don't be talking ugly about the methods that they choose to express ecstasy and joy. Even if they prostitutes, I don't give a fuck. Every time I see any modicum of expression of ecstasy, joy, pleasure, lust, raunchiness, loudness from black women, I'm bigging them bitches up. Yes, you better live, bitch. You better live on purpose out in these motherfucking streets. You better make these motherfuckers uncomfortable with your fucking pleasure and your lust and your joy and your ecstasy and your happiness. You better make them uncomfortable. Make them uncomfortable. Because that seems to be what makes most people uncomfortable. How dare I see her ass cheeks from under her shorts? Everybody got an opinion about our bodies and how we wear them. So make them uncomfortable. You gonna have an opinion anyway. Ain't nothing Simone Biles can do. There is nothing since she was a child that she could do where she was free from ridicule, where she was free from shame, where she was free from guilt, where she was free from harassment, where she was free from judgment. So if you're gonna get the shit anyway, if you're gonna get, not just her, it was her hair and this and this and this and this. But you have women who, quote, are the picture perfect personifications of Black female femininity. Are they free from those things? Are they free from those things? Are they free from guilt, ridicule, shame? Michelle Obama, prime example. College educated, stand, quote, behind her man, have some babies, exercise every day so her body stay tight. Was she free from ridicule, blame, shame? So if you Black and female, just like this white woman said in Pure Lust, what did she say? The word sin in Latin means to be. In Hebrew, it means mother moon. In Greek, it means she is. If the original sin is to be born she, based on these patriarchal languages, the original sin is to be born she. She said you might as well do this shit. Just sin on purpose. Break all the motherfucking taboos. If your very existence, at least where they're concerned, is an offense to God, you might as well do the shit on purpose. She said, break all the taboos. Fuck it. The taboos exist because you exist, bitch. So you might as well do shit on purpose. Have fun while you breaking all the rules, while you breaking all the laws, while you kicking in the doors on all the taboos. Because people are going to be uncomfortable with your very presence because these dogmas have taught them from the beginning that the original sin is to be born she. The original sin is to be born female, bitch. That's the original sin. So it don't matter whether you the Virgin Mary archetype of pristine femininity or whether your ass is the raunchy rowdy whore. You are never free from guilt. You are never free from shame. You are never free from ridicule while this motherfucker remains intact. So if you know that, and you know, according to Mary Daly, that the greatest potential for liberating destruction of the goddamn patriarchal edifice from top to bottom is for us to express our ecstatic rage, our ecstatic pleasure, our ecstatic lust, our ecstatic liberating everything. Because you see how uncomfortable our very presence makes people. We ain't even got to cuss nobody out. We ain't even got to yell. We ain't got to do nothing but just be, and people are offended by our presence. You might as well lean on into that shit. Just lean on into it. It don't matter what you do while this thing remains intact. Because it's not. It's where me and Mary disagree. It's not just femaleness that is the target of patriarchy. It is Black femaleness that is the primary target. It is. And so we must subdue our rowdy ass son who has gone astray and run amok. See? So that's all I'm gonna say about that. You feel me? This was fun. So what I may do is what I intended to do today, but this was fun. Let me tell you, this was fun for me. This thing, I'm about to get on a wormhole about the Pied Piper, you feel me? I'm about to get in this work with the Pied Piper, baby. I might have to retell all the fairy tales. I might have to retell the fairy tales from a black woman, like anti-patriarch, evolutionary perspective. You know what I'm saying? I might have to do that because my telling of the Pied Piper tonight, that shit gave me joy. That shit gave me joy. It sure did. Because that story of the Pied Piper, there's some shit to learn from this. What did he do? You know what he did? The musician, the magical, conspiring musician known as the Pied Piper. What he did was win them children to a revolution. That's what he did. That's what he did. He said, y'all come on over here with me, because the people now, that's the past. They the old age. We can't win them away from that bullshit they be on. So y'all come on over here with me. Let me rescue you from the ills of your old ass people now. You feel me? Let's get this party crunk. And let me save you from the malignantly dishonest, lack of integrity, having ass, backwards, nasty, foul, fucked up in their principles ass parents of yours. Let me save you from that shit. Let me save you for that shit, from that shit. Yeah, that story gave me joy on this night. Sure did. Sure did. Sure did. Yeah, so we have a conspiracy to cast. You feel me? But this shit got to be next level. Like what we did on November 19th was gangster. But this coming up on May 20th, this got to be 100-fold that. 1,000-fold that. If you know any famous motherfuckers, you feel me? Wheel them into the fray, bitch. Because we got a jack move to pull. We have time to redefine. If you have me tell it, I know we ain't there yet. But I welcome it. I welcome it right now. That we have the capacity to do this whenever the mother see fit. From where I stand, I'm just putting it out. If I had my way, you feel me? If I had my way, the way we would counter this thing here is we would do the same thing. We would do the same thing. There were 318 men locked in a closed door session from May 20th to August 25th in the year 325 AD, 1700 years ago. On May 20th, it'll be 1700 years ago. And these men from all over the known Roman Empire, bringing the philosophies and the traditions of their ancestors into this closed door session, so that Constantine could amalgamate little bits and pieces of everybody's shit to create what would become the new faith around Jesus Christ. And they all emerged from this 3-month closed door session, all 318 of them, to present to the world what would impact the whole of the planet's consciousness for 1700 years. That's what they did. They set a goddamn plan in motion that impacts us to this day. That's what they did 1700 years ago. And if you have me fucking tell it, if I have my way, if it is the mother's will for this to be the thing that happens on May 20th, I don't want to think about it. I don't want to execute it. I don't want to execute through the rigid thinking. I'm like, mother, allow for your will to be done through us. However you see fit, allow us to be open for your will to be done enthusiastically and ecstatically. My desire as my peculiar representation of the mother's will made real would be to have equal number of radical, witchy men, women, and everybody in between post the fuck up somewhere in a closed door session to set in motion in every direction, in every dimension, in all possibilities of the future, in all instances and occurrences of the past. That we be in this closed door session to do several things. To what? Redefine time. You understand? Just like they did. To redefine time. To raise up, to create a whole new, quote, global tradition, a whole new global culture that is the direct counter to what they executed behind them closed doors. an absolute opposite. You know what? Listen. If I have my goddamn way, baby, if I have my way, if it is the mother's will for me to have my way, then what we would be doing in that closed door session would be collectively and in one voice and in a singular fucking unity of will, giving birth collectively to the re-emergence of the one as her primordial dragon black ass self that the revelations of the Bible calls the fucking Antichrist. That's what we would be doing. That's what we would be doing. That's what we would be doing. We would be in that motherfucker dancing and singing and praising and turning up and drinking the wine and eating the mushrooms and fucking and at the same time charting the course for the new age. Damn, I got this epiphany while I was having sex, you feel me? Oh my God, this is what we're gonna do. Because that's how it happens. That's how it happens. I was turned up, and it was like a hole opened up in the crown of my head, and this radical idea came through, and I gotta write it down so I don't forget it. We're gonna make this a part of the new culture. That anybody that stands in the way of of an individual's presentation of ecstasy, in anything and anyone that stands in the way of God as her peculiar self expressed in this person's flesh. Anybody that attempts to deny, get in the way of, stop the expression of ecstatic ceremony, ecstatic ritual, joy, pleasure, the leaning into the desires of the flesh, the fulfilling of lust of the flesh. Anybody that get in the way has committed a crime against the goddess. This is the tenet. To deny someone their access to pleasure is to commit a crime against the goddess herself. This is our will. This is what we say. To deny one the ecstatic expression of their desires made a material force have offended the goddess and they must pay. Any institution that currently exists on earth whose sole purpose is the exploitation of somebody's potential pleasure through draining their energy, through sapping their energy, has committed the greatest crime against the goddess, and they must pay. Just saying. Everything that was done at the Council of Nicaea instantaneously undone. We have the ability to do that. These motherfuckers literally changed time, not only on this planet, in the entire known universe, the way we understand the relationship of the galaxies and the stars and time has been determined by a Dionysian, what's this nigga name? Exegesis. Using the gifts given to him in initiation to goddamn Dionysus in service of the goddess to turn right around and betray them both. That's what he did. That's what he did. That's what he did. That's what he did. To betray the mother to become a servant of the Father God, the God of war, the God of suffering, the God of sadness and fear and terror campaigns. That's what he did. He betrayed the mother. That's what they all did. This is what must be undone. This is what must be undone. This is what must be undone. This motherfucker gonna write a book called The Reckoning of Time. And they gonna spend hours and days and weeks debating about how they're going to actually change through their worldview and their lens. They're actually going to change the time, our interpretation and understanding of time, of the entire cosmos, of the celestial bodies of the entire cosmos. That's the kind of audacity we have to enter into ceremony with. That's some hellaciously audacious shit they did. It really is. That's the kind of shit we have to go to fuck up in ceremony with. This Dionysus exegesis He didn't debate and, like, why? Because in service of Dionysus, as an initiate of Dionysus, what did it say? Dionysus blesses by removing the fear of self-consciousness. This is the understanding he went in, even as he was going to betray Dionysus, even as he was going to betray the goddess. He went up in there with that kind of goddamn confidence and audacity. That's what he did. He's like, they're going to buy it. My position is, let's just split time in half. The time before Christ will go backwards. Can you imagine? We count time backwards based on this guy right here. Dionysus Exegesis is the reason that we count time backwards. Do y'all hear what I'm saying? This shit has been blowing my mind. I'm like, is there nowhere, anywhere where you can go back into history and read history from the beginning to present day? No, time was split by a Dionysian initiate turned Christian monk in the height of the goddamn Roman Empire. And so what we call prehistory is everything before the birth of Christ. And everything that's considered, quote, the common age or the modern age is after Christ. And we still today, even so-called scientific atheists, still comply to this splitting of time by a goddamn Christian monk in the Roman Empire, betrayer of his mother's religion, betrayer of the secrets bestowed on him of art and music and dance and theater as the sacred magical sciences to manipulate the fucking material world. He gonna use that shit in service to the goddamn empire. That's what he did. That's what he did. That's what he did. This is what must be done. We have to enter into every space with that kind of goddamn audacity. With that kind of goddamn arrogance. Yes, all of that. Like, bitch, it's what the fuck I say. Didn't I tell y'all that's one of the tenets? It's the temple of evolutionary emergence. Bitch, it's what the fuck I say. Up in here, it's what the fuck I say. Why can I say that? Because my mother says that. You have to be like that all the time. All the time. Anyway. So tomorrow, it'll probably be early just so I can get it out of the way. But I'm thinking first thing in the morning because I got a lot to do. First thing in the morning, I will do my little reading that I intended to do for y'all, which is reading from the Women's Encyclopedia of Myths and Secrets by Barbara G. Walker. We're going to be talking about this nigga Constantine tomorrow because we need to know who this nigga is for real in totality before we can formulate a plan on how to counteract and undo what he kicked off. That's what we got to know who the nigga is. All of it, all the way. We need to know who the nigga is so that we can be adequately informed about what it is that we have to conspire to do. So, if you want to get a jump on the read, it's not too lengthy. It's only like, excuse me. It's only like, no, it's not lengthy at all. I thought it was going to be longer than that. Oh yeah, it's only 1.5 pages. So if y'all want to get the jump on that, the page number is 173 for those of you who have the book, the Women's Encyclopedia of Myths and Secrets. For those of you who have the book, you can get the jump on the read because this is what I'm going to be reading in the morning. And then we'll continue this conversation, and then I'll create the Zoom link for the meeting on Wednesday to see what we can execute. With that being said, just scrolling through some of you guys' comments. Oh yeah, y'all named all of them. Halle Berry, Cardi, Megan, Beyonce, Tiana, Kiki, Biles, everybody. Everybody. So anyway, good night, you guys. This was so much fun. I love it when it happens like this. I love it when she come through and show out. I love that. So I'm gonna go get ready to take my behind to bed. I'll see y'all tomorrow. Literally, as soon as I wake up, I'm probably just gonna go ahead and do the reading really quick, and then maybe do another live later to talk about what we need to do. Okay. All right. Sleep well. May your dreams be wonderful and insightful and prophetic in the best ways. May your money flow unrestricted. May your $10 million come back into your possession. Thank you, Goddess. I claim it right now on behalf of everybody watching. Thank you so much for forcing these motherfuckers to unhand out $10 million. Thank you so much for allowing it to flow effortlessly into our life. You understand? What was the quote that I told y'all I got in my first reading in Oyotunji African Village? And what's her name? Chiefess Shango Boomy said, "Now stand up and greet your wealth." I was like, huh? She said, "Stand up and greet your wealth." Ifa says that you are bound to be wealthy in this life. So stand up and greet your wealth. I say, all right. I stand up and greet my wealth. I stand up and greet my wealth. I stand up and greet my wealth. You understand? So that's what I'm conspiring on y'all behalf. Is that these motherfuckers unhand your $10 million and it flows into your existence swiftly and radically and uninhibited. Come on in the room. Let's get it. Let's get it. Let's get it. Okay? Anyway, now I'm going to shut up. Good night, you guys. Love you guys. Thank you for hanging with me. Y'all some radical gangsters. Y'all be up in here squad deep at this witching hour. I love that. This might have to be the thing. I might have to take day naps so I can be up in here jolly on the spot in the height of the witching hour. That might be the thing. Because y'all be the fuck up in here. I can't believe there's so many of y'all up in here. I love that. All right. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Good night. Peace. Yes, 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 yes. Mm-hmm. Yes, Dion 408. All our wealth. Mine, my mama them, my sister, my grandmama, my great grandmama, in every direction. Unhand our shit. The mother wills it so. Unhand our shit. The mother wills it so. Unhand our shit. Unhand our shit. All right. Y'all know I can go on and on and on. Now I can get the hell up out of here. Thank you. Good night. See you later.